Yeah, how could we be so worthy to have dinner with such a top star? Alas, the most ironic thing is that at first we just thought he was just a doctor with superb medical skills. If I had said something unpleasant at that time, oh, I'm scared just thinking about it. This night is a night that these people will never forget in their entire lives. At this time, after Zhang Ju sent Yi Xian and others back, he returned to the room. Everyone saw Zhang Ju coming back and hurriedly pulled him to ask about Yi Xian. Principal Zhang Long, what kind of person is General Yi Long? Hearing this, Zhang Ju looked at them, shook his head and said with emotion. This one is a true legend. Back then, General Yi Long was the man with only one sword and one red flag, guarding the southern border alone and driving the enemy back thousands of miles. Those enemies who once had covetous eyes on China and had vain intentions of stealing from the land of China, will fall into deep nightmares every night whenever they hear this name. When everyone heard Zhang Ju's words and looked at his eyes full of admiration, they all gasped. Such an existence is so terrifying that I don't know how to describe it. For a moment, these people admired Yi Xian even more from the bottom of their hearts. At this time, after Yi Xian returned, the little guys began to search for the black cat in the room. Hey! Kitty, we're back! As soon as Yi Xi came back, she started searching the room excitedly and soon found the black cat dozing on the sofa. Here! Here! After finding it, Yi Xi waved to the other girls behind her. When the girls heard that the black cat was on the sofa, they all came over. Meow! The black cat was awakened by the noise of the girls. It slowly opened its eyes and called softly. Ah! You're so cute! Yi Xi sat on the sofa, put the black cat in her arms, and gently rubbed the black cat's head. I'll play with you guys too. Wang Xinyao, who was standing nearby, had changed into her pajamas and sat next to the girls, petting the black cat with them. Meow! The black cat was rubbed on the back by Yi Xi and stretched comfortably. Girls! Come and eat watermelon! Yi Xian walked out of the kitchen holding a plate of sliced watermelon. Here it comes! A few girls were still petting the cat. When they heard that it was time to eat watermelon, they immediately put down the black cat and swarmed over here. Wang Xinyao also followed behind and walked over with a smile. Delicious! Yi Yun took a bite and found the watermelon to be extremely sweet, full of water and with a crunchy texture. After eating the watermelon, the girls looked at Yi Xian, but had some other ideas. Dad, can we grow our own watermelons? Yi Jing pulled Yi Xian's sleeve and asked in a baby voice. Growing watermelons? Yi Xian looked at Yi Jing, then glanced at the other girls. Do you want to grow watermelons too? Think. The other little ones nodded as well, looking excited. Okay, let's go to the garden later. Yi Xian smiled slightly and continued speaking to the little girls. But you have to collect some watermelon seeds first. Good. Afterwards, a few maids collected some watermelon seeds, and Yi Xian took the maids to the garden. This is for you. Yi Xian found some nutrient solution and handed it to a few girls. Dad, what is this? Yi Jing held the nutrient solution in her hand, looked at Yi Xian curiously and asked. This is nutrient solution. After planting the watermelon seeds, you can pour it on them. The watermelon seeds will grow faster. Is it so magical? Yi Jing looked at the small bottle in her hand and held it much tighter. Thanks, Dad. We'll go plant it now. Afterwards, a few girls found a shovel and a piece of open space. They first dug out a few small holes and then buried the watermelon seeds in them. Call. The little girls were also sweating profusely at this time. They took a deep breath and then covered the soil again. And there's nutrient solution. Yi Jing slapped his head at this moment, and suddenly remembered the nutrient solution his father had given him just now. He took it out and poured it on the soil. Afterwards, the girls looked at it for a while and then went back to the room to continue petting the cat. But just as these little girls got up and left, a few small buds sprouted out of the soil. After returning, Yi Jing was still thinking about Yi Xian's belt, so she pulled Xia Xia and the others aside and whispered a few words to them. At this time, Yi Xian went to cook. Looking at the mischievous looks of the little girls, he didn't know what they were doing. After a while, Yi Jing ran to Tang Hao, who was standing at the door, gently pulled the corner of his clothes, and spoke in a negotiating tone. Uncle Tang Hao, can we discuss something? Afterwards, Yi Jing leaned over and whispered in Tang Hao's ear. Miss, do you have any money here? Tang Hao was also happy after hearing this, and said to Yi Jing with a smile. Uncle Tang Hao, don't look down on me. Jingjing has a small treasury here. Tang Hao looked at the little girl like this and rubbed her head with a smile. Okay, I promise, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. He. Thank you, Uncle Tang Hao. Seeing that Tang Hao agreed, Yi Jing smiled and skipped towards the room. Tang Hao looked at the little girl's back as she ran back inside, feeling a little emotional. Brother Yi is so blessed that he wants to raise a daughter in the future. It is true that a daughter is her father's little cotton-padded jacket. The next morning, Yi Jing opened her eyes very early and thought about what she had to do today. Thinking of this, Yi Jing's eyes turned slightly, and she gently patted the sisters beside her to wake them up. Hey! We should go. Yi Jing's voice was as soft as a mosquito at this moment, for fear of waking up her parents next to her. The other girls were woken up by Yi Jing and immediately realized what was going on. They got up quietly, changed their clothes, and headed outside. At this time, the sky outside was still dark and it was still very early. But Tang Hao was already waiting outside. After the little girls changed their clothes, they ran out. Uncle Tang Hao! Yi Xia shouted excitedly, and then broke out in a cold sweat, fearing that he would wake up his parents who were sleeping inside. Shoo! The girls around were also startled and quickly signaled Yi Jing to speak in a lower voice. Okay. Get in the car. Tang Hao smiled and waved to the girls. The girls nodded, quickened their pace and ran towards the side. After getting in the car, Tang Hao made sure that the girls were all seated, then he stepped on the accelerator and drove the girls forward. Soon, after Tang Hao sent the girls to the place, the girls got out of the car and thanked Tang Hao who was in the driver's seat. Thank you, Uncle Tang Hao. Tang Hao smiled and waved his hand, then continued to ask the girls. Ladies, would you like me to go shopping with you? Yi Jing looked at Tang Hao, shook her head gently, and said with a smile. Thank you, Uncle Tang Hao. We can just go shopping by ourselves. You can just go about your business. After saying that, the girls walked hand in hand into the mall, but when they arrived at the door, they realized that they had come too early and the door was not open yet. Let's go eat first. Yi Jing glanced at the time and saw that there was still some time before the door opened. Good. The girls nodded and found a breakfast shop nearby. Passers-by were also envious when they saw the little girls walking into the breakfast shop hand in hand. What kind of family is this? Their father must be so blessed to have these lovely little girls. Oh, if only I had these cute little girls. Yeah, it looks really cute. How sensible. These little girls can come out by themselves. When passers-by saw these girls, they couldn't help but stop and look at them, with warm smiles on their faces. The owner of the breakfast shop looked at the girls and thought they were cute. He happily walked out holding a big bowl of fried dumplings. Little girls, this is a gift from your uncle, eat it quickly. Wow! Thanks, uncle. The girls looked at the large plate of fragrant fried dumplings and thanked the boss with a smile. Okay, eat now. The boss smiled and nodded, then went back to work. At the same time, a girl came over. She was young and beautiful, and also very capable. The girl came over, looked around, and then sat at the table with the other girls. Wow! You are so beautiful, sister. Yi Yun stuffed a fried dumpling inside and looked at the girl's face, unable to help but praise her. The girl laughed when she heard that, but just when she was about to praise the girl, Yi Zi beside her said something else. Yeah, almost caught up with our mom. The girl was stunned for a moment. Is this how these little guys praise people? Then, the girl gently pinched the girls' faces and said angrily. Oh, you guys are so weird. Yi Jing also smiled and had a special liking for the sister in front of her. Sister, what's your name? My name is Bai Ling. How come you little guys ran out so early? As she spoke, Bai Ling was carefully peeling eggs for the maids. Chapter 115. My name is Bai Ling. Hey, thank you, sister. A few little girls took the eggs handed over by Bai Ling with a smile and ate them with special relish. After eating, several girls stood up, looked at Bai Ling in front of them with smiles, and waved politely. Sister Bai Ling, we are leaving now. Bye. Okay, be safe. Bai Ling looked at them and waved with a smile. At this time, the shopping mall next to it just happened to open. Wow! The door is finally open and we can go in. Yi Shi pointed excitedly at the wide-open shopping malls. At this moment, many people were already slowly rushing inside. Hey, let's go. With a loud shout full of energy, Yi Jing then stretched out her little hand and grabbed Yi Shi and Yi Yun beside her.
Sister Jingjing, do we have to drag her along?
Yi Yun pouted her lips and seemed reluctant to hold hands in this shopping mall.
It was too unfree. This is necessary, we are alone outside. Uncle Tang Hao is not here now, and neither are Mom and Dad, so we have to be more careful about safety.
If anything happened to us, Mom and Dad would be so worried and sad. Suddenly, Yi Jing's words made the girls swallow their saliva.
All right.
After hearing what Yi Jing said, the sisters said nothing more. They held hands and walked into the mall together. These little guys were wandering around in the mall, and from time to time they would go into a store to look around. There weren't too many people in the morning, and the scene of 5 little girls holding hands attracted the attention of many businesses.
It's so cute.
Yeah, the parents of these girls are so lucky.
Oh, I wonder what good things I did in my previous life.
Could it be that I saved the world? The merchants had just opened their shops not long ago, and seeing a few cute girls coming over, their morning mood inevitably became a lot more relaxed.
What are you looking at, little girls? Do you want to come over to your uncle's place and take a look?
At this time, a middle-aged man came out of a shoe shop nearby and waved to the girls with a smile.
All right. The girls nodded and walked into the middle-aged man's shop curiously.
That's so cute, little girls, what are you here to buy? The middle-aged man squatted down, smiled kindly, looked at the girls and asked.
Uncle, we are here to buy a present for Dad.
Buy gifts. The middle-aged man couldn't help feeling a little surprised when he heard the girls answering in unison. How old are these girls?
They can actually come out and buy gifts for their father.
Thinking of this, the middle-aged man couldn't help but feel envious. This is the difference between people. As a man who had 2 sons, he had never experienced the joy and warmth that a daughter brought. In comparison, the 2 sons only caused trouble to him most of the time.
Okay, what do you want to give your dad?
Yeah, the belt. When the middle-aged man heard that it was a belt, he smiled again and gave a thumbs up to the girls. You girls really know how to pick gifts. Yi Jing and the other girls thought the middle-aged man seemed quite kind, so they asked with a smile.
Hey, thanks uncle.
By the way, uncle, do you sell belts here? Oh, uncle, there's none here, go look in front. The middle-aged man smiled cheerfully and pointed at a few girls in front of him.
Okay, thank you uncle.
After thanking the middle-aged man, the girls held hands and skipped towards the shops in front.
Oh, that's great. If I had these daughters, I would be willing to live a hard and tiring life.
The middle-aged man looked at the lively and cute backs of the little ones inside.
It seems to be here.
At this time, Yi Jing brought a few girls to a men's clothing chain store in front. Looking at the huge shop, they could see that there was everything from clothes to shoes. Here's a belt. Yi Shi also looked inside at this time, and suddenly found that a row of shelves inside were filled with various belts.
Okay, let's go take a look inside.
Yi Jing clenched his fist and immediately led the other 4 little guys inside. This scene attracted several shop assistants nearby. Looking at the cute and clever little girls, their eyes were full of love.
Ah! These sisters are so cute and well behaved. What kind of human cutie is this? Hey! It seems like no parents are here.
Several shop assistants noticed that there were no parents behind the girls, so they ran out to check, and indeed, there was no one there. One of the shop assistants seemed a little strange and asked the manager at the cashier outside the counter in a low voice.
Hey! Store manager! Look at these little girls. Their parents aren't here yet. What are they doing in our men's clothing store?
Well, the shop owner was also a young girl. She pouted and thought about it, then clapped her hands and said, By the way, they say a daughter is a father's little cotton padded jacket. Are you here to buy a gift for your father?
Xiao Zhang, then you go over and keep an eye on it.
Good. The clerk at the side nodded, then walked towards the girls with a smile, but did not interrupt their actions.
This one is average. This one is too small.
Oh, this is not good either.
The leather looks wrinkled. It doesn't seem to be that good.
Several girls were rummaging through the neatly arranged belts on the shelves at this time, and they seemed dissatisfied no matter how they looked. After all, this is the gift they want to give to their father, so they have to choose carefully and not be careless. When the clerk next to him saw the scene, a smile appeared on his face. It seems like these little guys are here to buy gifts for their dad. How sensible.
The clerk couldn't help but exclaim in praise, then he stopped disturbing the girls and walked towards the counter. This looks good. At this time, Yi Jing suddenly noticed a carefully packaged belt on the shelf, which looked refreshing. The other girls also looked over and nodded with satisfaction. This belt is pure black, and the cowhide on the surface feels full of texture. You can tell at first glance that it is a genuine cowhide belt. The silver buckle at that end is also ingeniously designed. The hollow ring looks full of design sense while also appearing low-key and luxurious. Compared with other identical belts, this belt is completely different at first glance. It's really beautiful. Well, I think Dad will like it. Why don't we buy this one for Dad? The other girls also liked this belt. Yi Jing nodded and looked at the price of the belt. It clearly said 1,000. Ah, this looks a bit expensive. Yi Jing frowned immediately, quickly gathered her sisters over and asked in a low voice. How many do you have now? Take them all out. The other girls nodded and quickly took out their own savings. At this time, Yi Jing still had 600, while the money of Yi Shi's 4 maids added together only left 200. In this case, there is still a full 200 left. Where's your lucky money? Yi Jing looked at the girls who had collected 200 yuan and asked in surprise. Our money has all been put in the bank by our mom, who said she would give it to us when we grow up. Yi Zi looked at Yi Jing and said aggrievely. Chapter 116. Sister, you are here. But sister, how come you still have so much money left? Hearing this question, the other girls also came over. This was indeed a question that puzzled all of them. After all, the money of the 4 of them combined was not as much as that of Yi Jing alone. That's not surprising, because I'm not as greedy as you guys. Yi Jing looked at the girls unhappily and said this. The girls blushed and pouted for a moment, but didn't say much. But after the joke, Yi Jing was still extremely distressed. Looking at the more than 800 yuan in his hand, and the belt worth 1,000 yuan, he didn't know what to do. Xiao Zi. At this time, someone on the other side called Xiao Zi's name. Then, a little girl in a gray dress ran over and patted Yi Zi on the shoulder. Neat. Yi Zi turned around and looked over, and was immediately delighted, and immediately the 2 little girls hugged each other. By the way, let me introduce you. This is my classmate, Qin Chuchu. Seeing that the other girls seemed a little confused, Yi Zi quickly introduced them. Chuchu, this is what I told you about my sisters. Ha, I can tell this without any introduction. Qin Chuchu smiled, then looked at Yi Zi and others in confusion and asked curiously. By the way, Xiaozi, what are you doing here? We are here to travel. Chuchu, how about you? So that's how it is. Qin Chuchu nodded and continued with a smile. I came here with my parents and sister. As he was talking, a girl with a graceful figure and sweet looks walked towards him. This is my sister. Qin Chuchu looked at her sister Qin Meng and said to Yi Zi and others. Sister. This is my classmate Xiaozi, and these are her sisters. Qin Meng smiled when she heard that and greeted the girls. Hello. Nice to meet you. Hello, sister. You are so beautiful. The girls also smiled sweetly and responded politely. Qin Meng smiled when she heard that. These little girls were so cute and well behaved, which made them very lovable. They were also so sweet. At this time, Qin Meng happened to see a few girls looking at the belts. She narrowed her eyes, smiled gently and asked. Little sisters, who are you going to give the belts to? This is for Dad. Yi Jing looked at the belt and said with some regret. Qin Meng nodded, picked up the belt and took a look at it, paused for a moment, and then continued. Well, but this costs more than 1,000 yuan, it's not cheap. Do you have the money? Yes, but we only have over 800. Yi Jing raised his hand, which still held more than 800 yuan, and there was some regret in his tone. After all, this belt is one they all like, and it was carefully selected for their father. If the gap of 200 yuan cannot be overcome, I will still feel a little unwilling. Sister, let's take a look. Qin Meng looked at the girls who looked a little disappointed and took out a membership card with a smile. How about this, I'll lend you my membership card. That way you can get a 20% discount, and you can get this belt for 800 yuan. Really? Yi Jing and the other maids were immediately delighted and bowed deeply to Qin Meng. Thank you, sister. Ah. Sister, you are just in time. That's good. Dad's gift is settled. Thank you, sister.
Qin Meng looked at the sensible appearance of the girls, smiled gently, waved her hand and said, "It's okay, these are just small matters." Afterwards, Yi Jing took the membership card, took the belt and went to the counter to pay. "Okay, ladies, your belt has been paid for successfully. This belt can be engraved with words. Do you need it?" When Yi Jing and the other girls heard that words could be engraved, they paused slightly, then looked at each other with a smile, and finally Yi Jing spoke to the shopping guide. "Sister, just help us carve it. Jingjing, Xiaoxia, Xiaoyun, Xiaozi, and Xiaozi will send Dad off. That will be all. Okay, ladies, please wait a moment." The shopping guide smiled and nodded, picked up the belt and walked to the workbench nearby. After a while, several girls looked at the belt in their hands with satisfied smiles on their faces. In addition to the few words just engraved on it, a few hearts were specially added at this time. Hee hee. Dad will definitely like it. After admiring them, the girls carefully put the belts into gift boxes. Qin Meng had also finished her shopping by this time. She walked towards the little girls with a handbag in her hand and greeted them with a smile. "Little sisters, we'll be leaving first." "Okay. Goodbye, sister." "Thank you, sister." Afterwards, Yi Jing brought a few girls out of the store and saw a milk tea shop. "By the way, should we buy a cup of milk tea for the sister just now?" After hearing Yi Jing's words, the other little girls nodded in agreement. Fortunately, they still had some money. "Then let's go." Yi Jing grabbed the few dozen yuan left in her pocket and walked to the door of the milk tea shop with a few girls. "Children, you want milk tea, right? What do you want to drink?" The enthusiastic shop assistant saw the girls coming over and asked with a smile, "What to drink?" Faced with this question, the girls looked at each other and no one knew what to order. "What should I do? I don't know what that sister wants to drink." Yi Jing was a little anxious. She spent a while choosing from the dazzling menu and finally got the final result. "Sister, all we need is a passion fruit pineapple milkshake." "Okay. Please wait a moment." Soon, after paying the bill, a cup of exquisite milk tea was in Yi Jing's hand. At the same time, Qin Meng was taking Qin Chuchu to meet up with his father Qin Feng, who was standing at the door waiting for them. "Have you bought it yet?" "All right." Qin Meng shook the handbag in her hand and nodded with a smile. "Yeah. That's good." Qin Feng nodded, and then gave another reminder. "Remember, when you eat later, you must be careful and don't be rude. This dinner is very important to us." "Don't worry, Dad. We will." Qin Meng nodded heavily. After all, she knew that this time it was her father's partner who invited them to dinner and they were discussing the order at the table. The importance of this order cannot be compared with previous ones, and we must be cautious. So at this dinner, let alone their father, even she and her sister have to pay attention at all times. If you lose the order, it's not a big deal. But if you offend others, it will be a loss. As they were talking, a middle-aged man in a suit walked towards them from the other side. The man was a little fat, wearing a pair of black-framed glasses. He looked to be in his 40s, but his suit was still straight. "Oh. President Zheng." Qin Feng, who had just finished instructing Qin Meng and the other two, saw the middle-aged man coming towards him, and hurriedly went up to him and shook hands with him enthusiastically. "Boss Zhang, it's been a long time since we last met. You still look so energetic." After the two exchanged a few pleasantries, President Zheng smiled slightly and said to Qin Meng and Qin Chuchu who were standing beside him, "Okay, don't be so polite, let's go and have dinner first. This meal is on me." Qin Feng waved his hand upon hearing this and spoke politely to Mr. Zhang. "How can this be possible? Let me do it." President Zhang didn't say anything, but smiled apologetically and looked at Qin Feng seriously. "Hey, Lao Qin, let me do it this time. After all, it may be necessary." Although he didn't finish his words, Qin Feng immediately understood. His expression became a little lonely and he forced a smile. Qin Meng, who was standing by, also understood what was going on and felt a little disappointed. "It's okay. It's not important." Qin Feng swallowed his saliva, shook his head helplessly, then looked at President Zhang and smiled. Let's go eat. We finally came here, eating is the most important thing." But at this moment, Yi Jing and several little girls also walked out of the mall and saw Qin Feng and others at a glance. "Sister, you are here." Chapter 117 Surprise. Yi Shi gently pulled Qin Meng's skirt, thanked her, and handed her a cup of freshly brewed milk tea.
Thank you, sister. We'll treat you to milk tea. Ah. Thank you, thank you. It's so nice to have a few little sisters.
Qin Meng looked at the beads of sweat on the little girls' heads and the innocent smiles on their faces. Her originally gloomy mood suddenly felt cured a lot and she gently took the milk tea. But while serving the milk tea, President Zhang, who was standing by, was stunned when he saw these girls.
Aren't these the daughters of General Yilong who appeared at the banquet earlier?
He clearly remembered that at the banquet that day, he sat at the very end, and his status was at the most insignificant level. So with his status, let alone toasting General Yilong, he is not even qualified to toast these young ladies. However, at this moment, he saw these ladies with his own eyes outside.
Oh my God!
At that moment, General Zhang shuddered in his heart and couldn't help but be frightened.
Is Mr. Yi here too?
President Zhang muttered something in his heart, and then looked around to see if he could find General Yilong. But after searching for a long time, General Zhang didn't see General Yilong, and he couldn't help feeling a little regretful. But then, he did not delay and quickly walked towards the little guys, greeting them respectfully and politely.
Ladies, what a coincidence!
At this moment, General Zhang was being very respectful, and even when he greeted him, he bowed and saluted. The girls looked at each other in shock.
They didn't know this uncle.
Qin Feng and Qin Meng on the side were even more stunned.
What on earth was going on?
Why is President Zhang so excited when meeting a few little girls, and even his tone of voice is so humble?
Qin Feng was even more confused. He also knew President Zhang.
It was impossible for him to speak like this except when facing those high-ranking officials. But when meeting a few little girls, they can suppress their status so much. There is only one explanation for this: the parents or other relatives of these girls are people that General Zhang can look up to. Looking at the strange uncle in front of them, the girls were confused and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Yi Jing reacted quickly at this time, looked at President Zhang with a smile and said politely,
"You must be Dad's friend." "Hello, uncle. As expected of a lady from a noble family, you are so polite." Looking at these polite and lovely little guys, President Zhang couldn't help but sigh.
She is worthy of being General Yilong's daughter. Her manners are indeed not something that ordinary people can possess.
Well, we still have things to do, so we'll go back first. Goodbye, Choo Choo. Goodbye, uncle. Goodbye, sister.
At this time, the girls suddenly remembered that it was time to go home, so they said goodbye to General Zhang and Qin Meng and Qin Choo Choo beside them, and then left here hand in hand. At this time, President Zhang was watching the backs of these little guys as they left, until he couldn't even look up to them anymore. Then, President Zhang turned around and looked over. His expression changed drastically and he looked at Qin Feng with an excited smile.
Old Qin, do you know these people?
Uncle Zhang, those little girls are my sister's classmates and good friends. Upon hearing this, President Zhang nodded seriously, still muttering to himself. So that is how it is. Then, President Zhang cleared his throat, looked at Qin Feng, and said with a smile,
"Ahem. This order still has to be given to you, Lao Qin. I don't trust anyone else.
And from now on, we have to strengthen our cooperative activities." Qin Feng looked at President Zhang, who was completely different at this moment, and couldn't believe that he had heard these words, but he also understood that it was because of those little guys. "Thank you, Mr. Zhang, but there is one thing I don't understand. What are the identities of those little girls just now?" Looking at Qin Feng's puzzled eyes, President Zhang took a deep breath and told him what happened last night.
It's like this, old Qin. Last night I attended a banquet that I shouldn't be qualified to attend at my level.
At this banquet, a very high-ranking official has come. He holds the highest rank in the Yanhuang military, the 5-star Dragon General, General Yilong. And those little girls just now are none other than General Yilong's daughters. Qin Feng was listening to General Zhang's narration at this time. He was more and more shocked. In the end, he heard that these girls were actually the daughters of China's 5-star Dragon General. This was such a shock to his worldview that if President Zhang hadn't told him, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. At this time, not only Qin Feng, but also Qin Meng beside him was a little unable to calm down. He kept muttering in his mouth, and no one knew what he was saying. But when she saw the milk tea bought by the little girls again, her heart suddenly became much heavier. At this moment, everyone looked at each other with horror, as if a storm had exploded on the sea. After all, such a thing has brought a huge blow to their worldview. After the little girls left, they returned home in a hurry. At this time, Yi Xian was sitting in the living room drinking tea. He saw a few maids pushing the door in, squinted his eyes and asked, "Where have you been, little guys? Why did you disappear so early?" When Wang Xinyao heard the voice, she also walked over and looked at the girls with some blame. "Dad, we..." Yi Shi immediately lowered her head, not knowing how to explain. Yi Jing took out the gift box and came to Yi Xian with a few maids. "Dad, this is our gift to you." When Wang Xinyao heard that it was a gift, she became a little incredulous, and Yi Xian was also a little confused, looking at the girls and asked, "Did you go out so early in the morning just to buy me a present?" He. Faced with Yi Xian's questions, the girls just giggled and didn't say anything. But the little girl Yi Shi became much more anxious at this time. She pulled Yi Xian's sleeve and said sweetly, Dad, please open it and take a look." "Good." Yi Xian nodded heavily and carefully opened the gift boxes handed to him by the maids. Yi Xian's fingers, which were originally as steady as a rock, now seemed to become somewhat uncontrollable and were trembling slightly. At this moment, he didn't know how to describe his mood. This feeling was so wonderful that he really didn't know how to describe it. It's a belt. Soon, Yi Xian opened the gift box and found an exquisite belt inside with some words engraved on it. Chapter 118, The Best Gift. The moment he saw the belt, Yi Xian remembered everything and looked at Yi Jing and the other little girls lovingly. "Girls, you are so thoughtful." Before the last banquet, Yi Jing said that her belt was ugly. Yi Xian never thought that these girls would actually buy one for him. "Dad, this one looks better than the one you had before." Yi Jing giggled and looked at the little girls around her and continued, "By the way, Dad, there are surprises from your daughters on this belt." "Surprise?" Yi Xian smiled, took out the belt from the gift box, and rubbed it carefully in his hands. And the clear engraved words on it seemed to be reflected in Yi Xian's chest. Although those hearts and names were deeply engraved on the belt, they were also recorded in his heart forever. "Dad, do you like it?" "I love it. This is the second best gift Dad has ever received." Yi Xian held the belt lovingly and said to the girls tenderly, "Dad, why is this second best?" A few little guys asked with a smile, a little confused. Yi Xian took a deep look at Wang Xinyao standing beside him, then hugged the girls in his arms and murmured, "Because the best gift Daddy has received is you little girls." At this moment, Yi Xian's eyes twitched violently. At this moment, he was excited, and his heart was truly filled with happiness. "Dad, go change it and have a look." Yi Jing and the other girls looked at the belt, and then looked at Yi Xian expectantly, as if they wanted to see what Yi Xian would look like after putting on the belt. "Good." Yi Xian nodded and put on the belt immediately, his eyes full of love. Although this belt is not the most expensive, it is the most precious to Yi Xian. "Hey, Dad looks even more handsome after putting it on." Several little guys immediately praised the child, and after playing for a while, they all ran out. "Dad, let's go water the watermelons." At this time, several girls came to the place in the garden where they planted watermelons yesterday while talking. Looking at the green watermelon seedlings in front of them, they all exclaimed, "Wow! This watermelon grows so fast." "Yes, the seedlings are so tall now. If we add more nutrient solution, we will be able to eat watermelon soon." Although the little girls were surprised, they didn't know why. They poured some more nutrient solution from yesterday and returned to the living room. Meow. At this time, several girls heard the black cat's cry and went to play with it excitedly. "Hey, Kitty, we were away all morning, did you miss us?" The black cat seemed to have just woken up. He stretched and was then held in the arms of several girls, caressing them lovingly. "You girls, the kitten just woke up." Yi Xian also walked over with a smile, and teased the black cat with the girls. The father and daughter were having a great time. "By the way, Dad, there's one thing we haven't told you yet." At this time, several girls suddenly remembered what happened this morning and looked at Yi Xian and said, "Dad, we met a beautiful sister this morning, so cool." Hee, sister is so nice to us. She even helps us peel eggs. My sister's name is also very nice, Bai Ling. Yi Xian couldn't help laughing as he watched the girls talking to each other. If they knew my current state, they would probably be so shocked. "Okay, Dad, time to make lunch." Seeing the girls still playing with the black cat, Yi Xian smiled dotingly and said to them, "You little girls get up so early in the morning. After you finish your meal, you still need to go back to sleep for a while." "Good." Yi Jing smiled and nodded, then stretched out her little hand to Yi Xian. but we have to sleep with daddy in our arms.
Ah, as long as you are happy.
Yi Xian nodded, then went into the kitchen and started to get busy. The little girls were still playing with the black cat on the sofa. They didn't feel tired at all and were becoming more and more energetic. Kitten, go pick up this ball. At this time, Yi Shi found a green elastic ball, exhaled gently, shook it at the black cat, and then threw it far away. The black cat looked at Yi Shi at this time, its eyes full of helplessness.
No matter what, it is a cat, not a dog. Meow.
But seeing the expectant look in the little girl's eyes, the black cat cried out, then slowly jumped off the sofa and ran towards the bouncy ball bouncing on the floor.
That's amazing.
It turns out cats can also pick up balls.
When Yi Zi and Yi Yan saw that the black cat really brought back the bouncy ball, they looked at the black cat with even more love in their eyes.
Hey, what is this? But at this time, Xiaoxi saw something that looked like a card on the ground, so she trotted over to take a look, and found that it was an ID card. Sister, come here and take a look.
Here is an ID card. ID card?
When they heard it was an ID card, several girls gathered around.
Black Cat also breathed a sigh of relief and lay down on the sofa to continue taking a nap. Look whose it is.
Xiaoxi hurriedly picked it up, and several girls came over to take a look, their mouths opened wide.
Wow! This is Dad's ID card. Really? Dad is so careless. Hey, luckily we helped Dad pick it up.
Several girls gathered together and looked at the ID card over and over again. Wang Xinyao looked at the girls who were huddled together with their heads down, looking at something.
She was also curious and walked over with a smile.
Girls, what are you looking at?
Mom! Let's look at Dad's ID card again.
When Yi Shi saw her mother coming over, she raised her little head and handed the ID card in her hand to Wang Xinyao.
Mom, look.
Wang Xinyao took the ID card, looked at it carefully, and gently stroked it with her fingers.
Looking at this familiar, slightly immature photo, Wang Xinyao couldn't help feeling a sense of emotion. Isn't this what Yi Xian looked like when he met him? Time flies like water.
Now, so many years have passed and these little girls have grown up so much. While thinking, Wang Xinyao's eyes flashed across Yi Xian's date of birth. She was suddenly stunned, then looked at the little girls beside her with a smile.
Girls, your dad is going to have a birthday soon. Dad's birthday.
Several little girls looked at the dates on their ID cards and counted on their fingers.
Yeah. It's true. Daddy's birthday is really coming. That's great. We can celebrate Dad's birthday together. I can't wait.
For a moment, several girls jumped and danced excitedly, and Wang Xinyao had a smile on her face.
Okay, let's give Dad a surprise then, okay? Wang Xinyao tapped the little girls' mouths, blinked her eyes and said.
But you must remember, you must not tell Dad before this.
Good.
The girls nodded obediently, and began to guess what the surprise their mother was talking about was.
Chapter 119 Another Sister.
After a while, Yi Xian prepared lunch, and the maids pulled Wang Xinyao to sit at the dining table without waiting for Yi Xian to call.
Wow! It smells so good.
At this time, several girls stood on tiptoe, wanting to see clearly what delicious food there was.
Ah, you little girls, why are you so enthusiastic about eating today?
Yi Xian asked with a smile as he brought the dishes and chopsticks. Hey, the breakfast outside is not as delicious as what Dad makes. Yi Xia pouted her lips and her stomach growled a few times. These girls went out to the breakfast shop, but they didn't eat much, and they ate early. Now it was noon, so they were all hungry. Then come and sit up, Daddy has made all your favorite dishes today. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian smiled and carried them one by one to sit on the chairs.
Okay, let's get started.
Several girls couldn't wait to pick up their chopsticks and eat the food in big mouthfuls. But Yi Xian was very confused. Why did these girls always look at him with strange eyes while eating, with a hint of smile on their lips? Seeing this scene, Yi Xian was also happy. He put down the chopsticks in his hand, looked at the maids and said,
Girls, what's wrong with you?
When these words were spoken, the girls became a little nervous for a moment, thinking that they had been discovered by their father. They quickly put some rice into their mouths and began to chew slowly.
The other girls didn't say anything, only Xiaoxi lowered her head and spoke timidly. Mom told us not to say it. Hearing Xiaoxi's mosquito-like voice, the other girls suddenly fell silent, and Wang Xinyao almost bit her tongue. Okay, then Dad won't ask.
Yi Xian smiled and touched Xiaoxi's head without asking any more questions. In order to ease the embarrassment, Wang Xinyao turned on the TV, and the noon news was broadcasting at that time.
Mom, we want to watch cartoons.
A few girls watched the news playing inside and clamored to watch cartoons. I say, you girls, come on, you didn't say anything just now when the TV wasn't on, but as soon as I turned it on you wanted to watch cartoons. Wang Xinyao was so angry that she laughed and shook her head at the girls. No, and if you play cartoons, you will eat slowly. But just when Wang Xinyao was trying to stop the little girls, Yi Xian picked up the remote control.
Okay, Dad will change the channel for you. Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
When the girls saw Yi Xian pick up the remote control to find cartoons for them, they were all so happy. Wang Xinyao was helpless when she saw this. She pouted and looked at Yi Xian with some blame.
Oh, you've spoiled me.
Yi Xian smiled and said to Wang Xinyao to comfort her.
It's okay, it won't happen.
But just as he was about to change the channel, Yi Xian suddenly saw a piece of news and released his finger.
Now it's economic news.
According to reports from many media, Wall Street has recently encountered a huge capital attack and suffered another circuit breaker.
Many tycoons and retail investors have suffered heavy losses. Wang Xinyao couldn't help but feel horrified when she read the news.
She was stunned and muttered to herself.
This is such a big deal.
The little girls looked at their mother's surprised expression, then looked at the broadcast on TV and asked in confusion.
Mom, what are the stock market and circuit breakers? Wang Xinyao looked at the confused faces of the girls and explained briefly.
The stock market is a stock market where you can buy, sell, circulate, and transfer already issued stocks. The circuit breaker means that when the stock market volatility reaches the circuit breaker point, the exchange will suspend trading. This is also to avoid risks. It is a protection mechanism, because there are too many uncontrollable factors, which require human control.
Oh. Is that so?
A few girls nodded, but they all looked half comprehending and didn't quite understand what was said. But Yi Xian just smiled and shook his head gently. Seeing this, the little girls looked at Yi Xian in confusion.
Dad, isn't what Mom said right?
Yi Xian waved his hand and looked at everyone with a smile.
No, that's not what I meant. I just think this is quite interesting.
As he spoke, Yi Xian picked up the remote control, changed the channel without hesitation, and murmured in a voice that only he could hear.
It's really noisy.
After a while, I'll go collect some leeks and make a fortune. The little girls didn't understand, nor did they notice Yi Xian's whispering behind him, so they had to continue eating. At this time, Yi Xian also tuned the channel, and a children's cartoon was playing on TV. The little ones were also attracted by the cartoon and soon forgot about the stock market and circuit breakers.
After dinner, Yi Xian led the little ones back to the room for a nap.
As soon as Yi Xian lay down, several girls jumped up with smiles on their faces and burrowed into Yi Xian's arms like little loaches. You little girls, why do you always love to crowd over to Daddy's place?
Hee hee, because Daddy's arms are the safest place in the world.
Xiaoxi lay on Yi Xian's chest and said with a silly smile.
Yeah, and it's so boring for Dad to sleep alone. Isn't it good to have us accompany you? Daddy, Daddy. I want you to hold us. We are Daddy's little cotton padded jackets.
Several little girls laughed and crawled into the bed, snuggling into Yi Xian's arms. Yi Yun and Yi Zi wrapped around Yi Xian's arms like octopuses.
But it's summer, and it's pretty hot even with a cotton jacket on,
Yi Xian said with a wry smile. At this moment, he was completely surrounded by the 5 girls, with no space at all.
Dad, we won't let you go. That's right, what shall we do if you leave again? Dad, don't even think about running away. Wherever Dad goes, we'll go.
Hearing Yi Xian's words, the girls muttered something but hugged him even tighter. After playing around for a while, the girls quickly closed their eyes, breathing evenly, and fell into a deep sleep. In the afternoon, after Yi Xian got up, several girls were still sleeping soundly. Yi Xian gently kissed the girls on the face, then walked out of the room carefully, trying not to make any noise. It seems like these girls got up too early in the morning, and now they are having a sweet sleep. After closing the door gently, Yi Xian walked towards the living room downstairs. At this time, Wang Xinyao heard Yi Xian's footsteps, looked up, and saw Yi Xian walking down from above. Seeing this, Wang Xinyao quickly put down the tablet in her hand and said to Yi Xian with a smile,
"You're awake." As she spoke, Wang Xinyao stood up and poured Yi Xian a cup of tea.
Yi Xian took a few sips of hot tea, looked at the scenery outside the window, and murmured, "I'm going to go to the mountain later and look for Sun Ji again."
Good.
Wang Xinyao agreed gently and felt happy immediately. Now she had time to do her own things. Yi Xian put down the teacup at this moment, looked at Wang Xinyao's graceful figure, and leaned towards her. Just as Yi Xian stretched out his hand and was about to touch Wang Xinyao's face with a smile, Wang Xinyao smiled, closed her eyes, and moved towards Yi Xian. After a gust of fragrant breeze, Wang Xinyao gave Yi Xian a gentle kiss on the face. Yi Xian also laughed, then looked at Wang Xinyao's slightly red and hot face and said with a wicked smile, "The little ones are still sleeping now, aren't they?" After hearing what Yi Xian said, Wang Xinyao's already flushed face became even redder. "Oh, they said they didn't know when they would wake up. After they wake up, they must come to find you the first time." Yi Xian nodded, thinking that this was true, and then put his arm around Wang Xinyao's shoulders. "Then let's wait until we get back to Jinling. Once we get to Jinling, we'll send the girls to Qinjing's place for a few days." Wang Xinyao pursed her lips when she heard that, poked Yi Xian's belly, and said with a pout, "Why, do you want to give them another sister?" Chapter 120 has begun. Yi Xian stared at Wang Xinyao's evasive eyes, scratched her nose, and said with a smile, "Ha, it doesn't matter if it's a brother or a sister, it doesn't matter if it's as many as you want." Wang Xinyao's face was so red at this time that she said in an unpleasant tone, "You really are not serious at all. Okay, I'm leaving now. The girls should be waking up soon." Yi Xian and Wang Xinyao were intimate for a short while, and when they saw that the time was almost up, they walked out of the villa. But Yi Xian had only taken a few steps when he heard a coughing sound. Ahem! Then, a girl came out from behind. This girl was none other than Bai Ling. Bai Ling walked up to Yi Xian with a smile on her face, pouting her lips and said, "Brother Yi, you are so lucky. Not only do you have a few lovely daughters, but you also have such a virtuous and beautiful wife." Yi Xian looked at Bai Ling, blinked, and asked, "How long have you been here?" It's been a while," Bai Ling said playfully with a faint smile on her lips. "But don't worry, Brother Yi, I didn't see anything." Yi Xian looked at Bai Ling's playful look and shrugged slightly. You're still the same. Well, let's not talk about this. I transferred you here. Do you have any objections?" Bai Ling shook her head and said with a smile, "Brother Yi, of course I have no objection. Besides, I'm bored over there too. Now I just need to take care of Brother Yi's little princesses, and I can also go out for a walk." Seeing that Bai Ling had no objection, Yi Xian nodded heavily. "Okay, thank you for your hard work. I'll be relieved knowing you're taking care of the girls. And those girls really like you. They even told me about you." "Really?" Bai Ling thought of the cute little girls and a smile appeared on her lips. "Of course it's true. Well, okay, by the way, Brother Yi, where are you going?" Bai Ling blinked and continued to ask, "Is there anything interesting?" "It's okay, I just want to go find Sun Ji and talk about something." "Oh, I see." Bai Ling nodded somewhat disappointedly and didn't say anything more. "Okay then, goodbye, Brother Yi." After saying goodbye to Bai Ling, Tang Hao was already waiting on the side. Yi Xian got in the car and left soon. After a while, several little guys woke up in the villa. Seeing that Yi Xian was not around, they hurried downstairs. After looking around, they found that Yi Xian had left. "Mom! Is Dad out? Where did Dad go?" Yi Jing brought a few maids to Wang Xinyao and asked in a somewhat depressed tone. "Okay, don't worry, your dad will only be out for a short while, he won't go far." "All right." After hearing Wang Xinyao say this, the little girls felt relieved. At this time, Xia Xia saw Wang Xinyao sitting on the sofa, drawing something attentively, so she went over curiously. Xia Xia looked at the model on the screen, her eyes widened and she exclaimed, "Oh! Mom is drawing a cute version of Dad." When the other little girls heard this, they also put down what they were doing and came over to look at the pattern drawn in Wang Xinyao's hand. When the little ones saw this, they were all surprised. This cute version of Yi Xian was cute and handsome at the same time. "Wow! Mommy draws so well. Daddy is so cute like this. This Dad is so handsome. Mom, this is the surprise you prepared for Dad." Seeing several little girls coming over, Wang Xinyao smiled at the picture in her hand and spoke to the girls. "Mom will teach you how to make a cake, okay? Your dad will be very happy if he can eat the cake you made yourself." "Okay. Let's go now." When the little ones heard that this was a good idea, they immediately swarmed towards the kitchen.
Wang Xinyao also smiled, put down the drawing, and quickly followed. At this time, several girls were eager to try in the kitchen, and they were all excited. Girls, we don't have much time. We'll have to eat it right after we make one. We can't let Dad find out, okay? Good. The little fellows giggled and nodded, then all looked at Wang Xinyao with wide eyes. Mom, how do I make the cake? Well, this isn't difficult. Wang Xinyao looked at the energetic appearance of these girls and smiled with satisfaction. As long as we divide the work and work together, it won't take long. Afterwards, Wang Xinyao beat a few eggs and separated the egg yolks and egg whites. Wang Xinyao put some hot milk and butter in the egg yolk, placed it in a small bowl, and handed it to Yi Zi and Yi Yun. I'll give you 2 of these. Make sure the egg yolk is completely emulsified. Good. The 2 girls took it and looked at Wang Xinyao innocently. Mom, but we don't know what emulsification is. Ah, this. Wang Xinyao realized at this moment that these girls knew nothing at all. Okay, you girls listen to me, I'll tell you slowly. To make a cake, you need a lot of ingredients, probably low-gluten flour, eggs, white sugar, butter, milk, salt, etc. Secondly, we have many more steps. In the next few minutes, Wang Xinyao tried her best to pick out the important things and told them to the girls. The girls were listening very carefully at this time, without even blinking, and they actually understood the principle of the cake in just one try. Mom, we get it. Okay. Let's get started. Now it was time for practice. Several little girls put on small aprons, which were exposed when their clothes got dirty. Wang Xinyao asked Yi Jing to beat the egg whites together, while Yi Zi and Yi Yun emulsified the cream and egg yolks together. Yi Xia and Yi Shi were slowly sifting the flour, trying to make it as fine as possible. I'm so tired. Yi Jing's hands were sore at this time, but the whipped egg whites still had no effect. Wang Xinyao's hands were also sore at this time, and she murmured in self-blame. Hey, this is my pot, I forgot to buy an egg beater. Egg beater? Yi Yun, who was still busy at the side, suddenly remembered something when she heard this. She opened a cabinet in the kitchen, took out a brand new egg beater, and asked Wang Xinyao. Mom, is this what you're talking about? Wang Xinyao stared at what Yi Yun took out with her eyes wide open and asked in surprise. Xia Yun, how did you know there was this in the kitchen? I was hungry and came to the kitchen to look for something to eat. I found this by accident. Wang Xinyao was silent for a while, then she looked at the egg beater in her hand and breathed a sigh of relief. Soon afterwards, the egg white was beaten into fine foam. During the process, Wang Xinyao added white sugar several times. Mom, why don't you add the sugar all at once? Yi Jing on the side was a little confused. Wouldn't it be more convenient to add it in this time? Jingjing, you don't know this, right? This way, the egg white can be whipped more delicately and fully. Jingjing knows. At this time, the other maids had also finished their work and were all looking at the beaten egg whites. This foamy egg white looks delicate and white, and also has a fragrance. Mom, is this cream? It looks delicious. Can I have a taste? Wow! It smells so good, and it looks just like cream. Wang Xinyao looked at the girls swallowing their saliva, smiled unhappily, and tapped their heads gently. You little greedy cats. This is not cream. Making butter is more complicated than this. Mom will teach you how to make it later. When the girls heard that this was not cream, they pouted and murmured in confusion. But this one really looks like it. Wang Xinyao had no choice but to pick up a small spoon and put a spoonful of food into each of the little ones' mouths. How is it? Mom didn't lie to you, did she? Is this the taste of cream? Yi Shi licked her tongue, looking like she was still a little unsatisfied. It's not creamy, but it's delicious. Wang Xinyao smiled bitterly and shook her head. These girls are so greedy, one more than the other. Ahem. We have to hurry up, otherwise your dad will be back soon. Okay. The girls nodded, and when they heard that their father was coming back, they moved much faster. Although the process was very tiring, the little ones all had smiles on their faces. After all, this was a birthday gift prepared for their dad. However, while the little guys were still busy at home, Yi Xian had already arrived at the mountain where Sun Ji was. Master, you are here. Seeing Yi Xian coming, Sun Ji quickly put down what he was doing and immediately greeted him respectfully. Well, has that potion started mass production? Master, it has already started. Sun Ji nodded in reply, bowing and inviting Yi Xian in.
At this time, at the foot of the mountain, a Rolls-Royce was moving up with a young man sitting in the car.
Chapter 121 Sending Guests Away.
The young man was dressed elegantly and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses.
He looked refined yet a little gloomy.
The young man's every move and gesture revealed an unrestrained arrogance, as if he didn't care about anything around him. At this moment, he was sitting in the car, looking at the scenery outside the window indifferently, with a sneer on his lips. "Mr. Li, we have already investigated clearly. The medicine in Lin Shang's hand of the Tianjing Lin family came from here. It's just that the identities of the people here." The driver in front looked at Li Xiao through the rearview mirror, and as he spoke, he became a little hesitant.
Li Yanji narrowed his eyes and nodded calmly.
"I know, this Sun Ji is okay, but the status of the master behind him is indeed not small." Speaking of this, Li Yanji's heart was a little nervous.
The highest level of the Yanhuang military, the 5-star Dragon General.
If this identity were to be revealed, I'm afraid that all the families in China, except the 8 great families, would be shocked. But I don't believe that he will remain unmoved by profit. After all, people die for money and birds die for food. With such huge benefits and countless wealth, I don't believe there would be anyone who would not be tempted by it. As Li Yanji was speaking, he was also thinking in his heart that if he really succeeded this time, his status in the family would definitely rise sharply.
"Mr. Li, we're here." "Good." Li Yanji nodded, got out of the Rolls-Royce, and walked towards the door of the pharmacy in front. Bang, bang, bang. Standing at the door, Li Yanji knocked on it without hesitation, without any of the humility of those who had come to seek medical treatment before.
Soon, Sun Ji opened the door after hearing the sound, looked at the person in front of him, and asked in confusion,
"Who are you?" "You must be Dr. Sun." "Ah, this is really a rash visit." Li Yanji laughed loudly, then introduced himself and said with a smile,
"Dr. Sun, please introduce myself. I am the 3rd son of the Chinese Li family.
My name is Li Yanji."
The Li family can be said to be descendants of a famous doctor, and it is rumored that they are descendants of Li Shizhen.
Sun Ji also knew the Li family.
After all, their Sun family, like the Li family, were descendants of famous doctors. However, they took different paths.
The Sun family lived in seclusion, while the Li family resold traditional Chinese medicine.
They had extensive connections and countless assets. It can be said that the Li family controls most of China's traditional Chinese medicine industry, not to mention their connections. You know, there is never a shortage of connections in the medical field. It turns out to be the young master of the Li family. "Please come in." Seeing the identity of the visitor, Sun Ji didn't think much about it and simply invited him in.
"Sorry to bother Dr. Sun."
Li Yanji walked in with a smile and immediately saw Yi Xian sitting inside.
"You must be General Yi Long." "I am Li Yanji from the Li family."
"I have heard of you for a long time." Looking at Yi Xian in front of him, Li Yanji was also shocked. He didn't expect that Yi Xian was so young, almost the same as the rumors. At such an age, he has achieved such a status.
There is no one else like him in the whole of China.
Looking at Li Yanji, who was fawning and speaking politely in front of him, Yi Xian sipped his tea gently but didn't pay much attention. "What's up with you?"
Li Yanji nodded, sat opposite Yi Xian, and said with a smile, "That's right, General Yi Long.
I came here this time to discuss the matter of the Qingling potion with you."
"Your Qingling potion is truly amazing. Its medicinal value has far surpassed the current research stage.
Now this potion has spread among the upper circles of Tianjing.
Everyone wants to get one."
At this time, Li Yanji was praising the Qingling potion wildly. He was praising it so much that he almost praised it to the sky. Then, Li Yanji changed the subject, paused slightly, and talked about the purpose of his visit this time. "General Yi Long, you are in the military, so you may not know how much commercial value this medicine has. The purpose of my coming here today is to discuss this matter with you. My idea is this: if you can cooperate with me, relying on my Li family's resources in the traditional Chinese medicine industry, we can achieve large-scale mass production. General Yi Long, think about it, this way, we can stockpile a large amount of medicine, and then my connections will hype and promote this medicine, and then we can sell it at a high price.
The profits here can at least reach hundreds of billions. This is definitely an inestimable number.
And when we reach the middle and late stages of development, we can open up sales channels to overseas markets. By this time, as long as we step into globalization, our profits will increase dramatically." Li Yanji was dancing with joy at this moment, introducing the profits and commercial value to Yi Xian.
But Yi Xian still looked uninterested and just drank his tea.
Seeing Yi Xian's appearance at this moment, although Li Yanji's expression did not change, he was burning with anger in his heart. It is true that Yi Xian is a dragon general, but their Li family is also an influential figure in the whole of China. Now he was here introducing the Li family to him earnestly, but he had no expression at all.
Could it be that he didn't take his Li family seriously at all? Ahem.
Having said that, Li Yanji coughed softly a few times, then looked at Yi Xian and said,
General Yi Long, you didn't say anything. Do you have any doubts about our Li family's connections and resources? Are you worried? I'll tell you the truth, General Yi Long. If China's medical industry loses our Li family, it will be like the West losing the church. Our Li family controls half of China's traditional Chinese medicine industry.
This is beyond doubt and well known.
So you can rest assured. If our Li family doesn't have this strength, then China won't be able to come up with a second person.
At this time, Li Yanji was talking boastfully, his eyes and posture seemed somewhat arrogant. But Yi Xian still had no reaction at this time. He was still drinking tea by himself and didn't even look at him. Seeing this, Li Yanji's face couldn't help but darken, and he looked at Yi Xian with unkind eyes. He didn't expect that Yi Xian would be so difficult to deal with. His original plan was that after obtaining the pharmaceutical formula through cooperation, he could change his name and launch a product himself, and then quietly expand overseas. In this way, the profit is unbelievable, and he, Li Yanji, will become a figure that shocks the entire China and even the entire world. And at this point, even if the opponent is a dragon general, he is not afraid.
Even a dragon general like Yi Xian, would he dare to touch their Li family? If the Li family makes a move, the entire Chinese traditional medicine industry will be shaken, and the whole of China will be plunged into a major earthquake. The consequences, will Yi Xian be able to bear them alone?
Moreover, in front of interests, I believe that even if Yi Xian is a dragon general or holds a high position, he will be corrupted.
Human greed is something that cannot be thrown away. General Yi Long, here's what I'm thinking. How about we split the money 40% to 60%? I'll take 60% and you take 40%.
As you know, we have to mobilize a lot of resources to give you 4.
This is also due to my personal respect for you.
Li Yanji simply skipped the previous words and went straight to talking about profit sharing.
However, Yi Xian remained silent, as if he didn't hear him speak.
Li Yanji was immediately furious, wondering what was wrong with Yi Xian. Could it be that he was not tempted at all after being offered such a profit?
Then how about this, General Yi Long? We split the money 50-50, 50-50.
After all, this requires a lot of publicity and the mobilization of a lot of resources.
Ha ha ha.
Hearing this, Yi Xian on the side suddenly laughed. Seeing this, Li Yanji couldn't help feeling happy and looked at Yi Xian with a smile on his face.
General Yi Long, do you think it's okay?
Yi Xian didn't say anything, but slowly picked up the teacup, took a sip, and then placed it heavily on the table.
How come a young man from the Li family can come here and negotiate a 50-50 split now? Don't even mention you coming.
Even if you, the patriarch of the Li family, came here, you wouldn't dare to show any arrogance. And you, a junior of the Li family, came to me and dared to speak so arrogantly. Your Li family is really going backwards as time goes by. After saying this, Yi Xian looked at Sun Ji beside him with a stern gaze and said coldly,
Sun Ji, show the guests out. Chapter 122, I don't know what's good for me. After a moment, Li Yanji walked out of the pharmacy and couldn't help but look back and glare, his eyes full of bloodshot. Humph. What's so great about you, Dragon General? Do you really think you're a big shot?
If you don't give it to me, I don't care. You are so short-sighted that you can't even see such a huge benefit. My Li family doesn't even bother to cooperate with such people.
They are afraid of you, Yi, but my Li family is not.
I, Li Yanji, am not afraid either. Li Yanji was so angry that his teeth were itching, the corners of his mouth were trembling, he clenched his teeth, and kept cursing in his heart.
But even though he was extremely angry at the moment, he was helpless. After all, he was facing a 5-star dragon general like Yi Xian. If the other party doesn't agree and wants to leave, what can he do?
At the same time, inside the pharmacy, Yi Xian couldn't help but sneer and look towards the door. As for this potion, when I come back, I can directly bless the entire China and the Yanhuang military.
Money? That's a joke, it's free.
Yi Xian might lack other things, but the thing he lacks least is this kind of dirt. Of course, this thing can only be supplied to China. As for foreign countries, it is absolutely impossible. Afterwards, Yi Xian stayed here for a while. Seeing that the time was almost up, he stood up and said to Sun Ji, who was standing beside him, "It's almost time, I'm leaving now." "Master, shall I take you there?" Yi Xian shook his head and said to Sun Ji seriously, "Need not. But you must remember these few things. If anyone else comes with a prescription, you can just send them away. We only supply this medicine domestically. It's not available overseas." "Yes, master." Sun Ji nodded solemnly upon hearing this, and Yi Xian left with peace of mind after seeing this. At this moment, several girls have already made the cakes and are admiring the fruits of their labor. "Mom, how is it?" Wang Xinyao watched from the side and nodded slightly. "Well, it looks like it's made in the real world, but I want to taste it." After saying that, Wang Xinyao broke off a piece and put it in her mouth, chewing it slightly, and then spoke to the little girls. "Well, it's not bad, but it still needs to be improved." As she spoke, Wang Xinyao glanced at the current time and suddenly became a little nervous. She looked at the little girls and said, "Oh, it's almost time. Your dad will be back soon. Let's eat first and talk about the improvement later." "Good." Several girls also clenched their fists, realizing the seriousness of the matter, and then the mother and daughters started to fight in big ways. As they ate, the girls all regretted that the cake shouldn't be so big this time. Not long after, Yi Xian returned to the villa. At this time, Yi Xian was looking at several little girls lying on the sofa with bulging bellies, burping from time to time. "What did you girls eat secretly?" The girls immediately sat up like kittens whose tails were stepped on, with innocent smiles on their faces, and said to Yi Xian, "Dad, we didn't." "That's right, we're still waiting for you to cook for us." "Hee, besides, there's nothing to eat at home." Yi Xian smiled without saying anything, and gently touched Yi Jing's little face. At this moment, there was some white cream on the corner of the little girl's mouth. The girl stopped talking immediately after seeing this, but Yi Xian couldn't help but burst out laughing. During these few days, Yi Xian often went to Sun Ji's place to sit and check on the progress of medicine production. And he didn't know why, but every time he came back, he always felt that there was something wrong with these little girls. Every time he came home, the little ones seemed to be doing something secretive, afraid of being discovered by him. However, after being discovered, the little guys either giggled or tried their best to change the subject. Several days passed like this, and one day when Tang Hao and Yi Xian came back from their work, another incident occurred. Tang Hao had just taken a sip of water and was about to sit down to rest for a while, but was pulled into the study room nearby by a few maids. Bang! Tang Hao had just walked into the room when several maids slammed the door and even locked it from the inside. "Hey, ladies, what are you doing?" After closing the door, several girls gathered around Tang Hao and looked at him with smiles. This situation made Tang Hao a little confused, and he couldn't help swallowing his saliva. "Uncle Tang Hao, we want to ask you for a favor." "Okay?" Looking at the little girl's pleading eyes, Tang Hao scratched his head and said with a smile, "Ladies, what's going on? It won't be the same as last time, right?" "No." Yi Xia tugged at Tang Hao's sleeve and pulled him to sit on the chair in the study. "Uncle Tang Hao, please sit down first, we will talk slowly." Okay." Tang Hao felt helpless when he saw these girls acting mysteriously, so he could only sit down with a wry smile. "Uncle Tang Hao, have some tea." As soon as he sat down, Yi Shi brought a cup of hot tea and handed it to him in a baby voice. "Oh, thank you, Xiaoxi." Tang Hao picked up the teacup and began to mutter to himself, "These little guys definitely have something important to ask of him." "No, ladies, can you tell me what it is?" But the little girls didn't answer. Instead, they came over and pouted. Yi Jing chuckled and started to act coquettishly. "Uncle Tang Hao, we have something to ask you, can you help us?" "Of course, but can you tell me what it is for first?" Tang Hao felt more and more unsure, because even last time these girls were not as mysterious as they are this time. "Uncle Tang Hao, just agree to us." Several little girls blinked their big eyes and pouted their lips and said, This, but you didn't tell me anything." Tang Hao sighed helplessly. He wouldn't dare to agree to it without knowing what it was about. "Uncle Tang Hao, you're the best, we just ran into a little trouble." "Yes, Uncle Tang Hao, you can definitely help us." "Uncle Tang Hao, just promise us, we will definitely thank you." Seeing that Tang Hao was a little hesitant, the little ones started to act coquettishly, which made Tang Hao helpless and he had to nod. "Okay ladies, I promise you." He. "Thank you, Uncle Tang Hao." When the girls saw that Tang Hao finally agreed, they immediately cheered. Okay ladies, can you tell uncle what's going on? Tang Hao quickly asked. If this was really something he couldn't do, he should find a way to refuse it as soon as possible. Yi Jing chuckled, pouted her lips, looked at Tang Hao and said with a smile. Uncle Tang Hao, take our dad out tomorrow and then just wait for our news. When Tang Hao heard this, his eyes widened, he was stunned, and fell silent. This is a trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. How come these little girls have learned this trick? And even if he was asked to seduce a real tiger, he would still have some confidence, but who was the target? It was Brother Yi. This. Ladies, can I transfer Brother Yi to Lishan? Tang Hao looked at the big watery eyes of the little girls in front of him and spoke with a twitching mouth. This task is really too difficult. What reason can he find to let Brother Yi go? Seeing that Tang Hao was getting more and more embarrassed, the little guys thought that Tang Hao was going to refuse, so they swarmed into Tang Hao's arms. Uncle Tang Hao, you promised us. We all believe in you, Uncle Tang Hao, you can do it. Uncle Tang Hao, do you really want to see us suffer? The little girls immediately begged in every possible way, with sparkling light in their eyes, and started to act coquettishly again. Seeing this, Tang Hao had no way to refuse, so he could only smile bitterly and nodded. Okay, I promise you. Yeah. Thank you, Uncle Tang Hao. When the little ones saw that Tang Hao finally agreed completely, their faces lit up with joy and they danced with joy. They were so happy that they couldn't express it in words. What on earth do these little guys want to do? Tang Hao wiped his sweat and couldn't help but guess. In the evening, after dinner, Yi Xian took a few little girls to watch cartoons on the sofa. Looking at the little girls beside him, Yi Xian gradually felt these days that these little girls seemed to be getting fatter and fatter. Although he didn't know whether this was true or just his illusion, Yi Xian always felt that something was wrong. Have you little guys gained a little weight these days? Chapter 123 Who Cursed Me? Thinking of this, Yi Xian pinched Yi Shi beside him, and it seemed that his little face became even chubbier. Hey, hey, hey! Dad, you must have seen it wrong. Yi Shi chuckled and rubbed her belly. Dad, no, we have been controlling our diet recently. Yi Jing also hurriedly explained with a smile, but some cold sweat suddenly appeared on his forehead. Really? Yi Xian looked at the expressions of the little girls and asked puzzledly. Really, really? Dad, you have to believe us. Even if we've gained weight, it's because Daddy's cooking is delicious. Several little girls hurriedly tried to explain themselves, but they dared not look at Yi Xian. All right. Seeing this, Yi Xian had no choice but to nod and glance at the current time. Well, how about this? It's still quite early, why don't we go out for a night run? Okay. Dad, wait for us to change clothes. Hey! I love going out for a run the most. When the girls heard that they could go out and play, they immediately became excited and quickly returned to their rooms to change clothes. Xinyao, aren't you going? After Yi Xian changed his clothes and came out, he saw that Wang Xinyao had not changed her clothes yet, and asked with a smile. Well, I'm feeling a little unwell, so I won't go. Wang Xinyao smiled and shook her head, covering her belly. You know why? Upon hearing this, Yi Xian didn't ask any more questions and nodded in understanding. Then you should have a good rest. I'll take a few girls out for some exercise. Okay, then be careful and go early and come back early. Don't worry. Yi Xian nodded with a wicked smile and walked towards Wang Xinyao. While the girls were still here, Yi Xian and Wang Xinyao were intimate for a while. Afterwards, the little ones changed their clothes and clattered down the stairs. Hey! Mom isn't going? Yi Shi looked at Wang Xinyao, who had not changed her clothes yet, and asked curiously. Mom isn't feeling well, let Dad take you there. Wang Xinyao smiled and rubbed Yi Shi's little head. Oh, no wonder, Mom's face is as red as an apple, could it be that she has a fever? At this time, Yi Xia saw the blush on Wang Xinyao's cheeks and spoke innocently. Wang Xinyao suddenly fell silent and looked at Yi Xian shyly. Let's go and let Mom rest at home. Yi Xian couldn't help but laugh out loud. Without further explanation, he took a few people out of the villa. At this time, the riverside, although it was already night, was still bustling with activity. The street lamps are brightly lit, accompanied by the refreshing night breeze, and many residents come out for walks and night runs after dinner. Wow! There are so many people here. After a few little girls came out, they were so excited that they couldn't wait to run. Girls, how about we have a competition? Yi Xian's eyes turned and he suddenly thought of an idea. Contest? The little guys hesitated for a while, and then burst into cheers. Yeah. We want to compete with Dad. I want to be number one. I want to beat Dad. Seeing this, Yi Xian smiled and pinched a few little girls. Yes, that's the fighting spirit we need. As he spoke, Yi Xian stopped and stood still. The little girls were also very smart. They quickly stood in a row, pouting their little lips, and got ready to start running. Are you ready? Daddy will count down to 3 and then we'll start. Ready. The little guys were now clumsily imitating the athlete's postures and making preparatory movements, just waiting for Yi Xian's order. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Start. Go. As soon as the words fell, several girls clenched their fists and rushed out. Yi Xian ran behind with a smile, not in a hurry to catch up with the little girls, but followed them slowly from behind. A few little girls tried hard to regulate their breathing and ran with small steps. Among the crowd of night runners by the river, their style seemed a little different. Hey! Look! Over there! The people walking and jogging nearby all noticed this scene and their eyes were drawn to it. Look, there are some kids running over there. Yeah. So cute, just like a porcelain doll. After watching this, I also want to become a daughter slave. For a moment, almost everyone around focused their attention on the little girls, and a warm smile appeared on their faces. The little girls were now breathing heavily. Yi Xian followed closely behind them and said with a smile. You said you didn't gain weight, but you started panting after just a few steps. It seems like you need to exercise more. Hearing Yi Xian's words, several little girls pouted their lips and spoke stubbornly. Dad! We don't feel tired at all. That's right. I can still run. Dad, please don't lose to us. Yi Xian smiled when he heard that, but didn't say anything. Instead, he continued to run behind the little girls. As time passed, the girls' backs were soaked with sweat and it became increasingly difficult for them to breathe. Alright girls, let's take a break. Seeing this, Yi Xian had no choice but to ask the maids to stop. I'm so tired. Several girls stopped, bent over, supported their knees and gasped for breath. After resting for a long time, they finally recovered. You girls, don't fight so hard next time. Yi Xian took out a silk scarf and gently wiped the sweat off the girls' heads, saying with some reproach. Dad, who told you to say we were fat? Yi Xia looked at Yi Xian aggrievedly and said. The other girls also looked at Yi Xian in the same way, as if to prove that they had not gained weight. Ha ha ha. Daddy was just saying that. No matter if you gain weight or not, you are still Daddy's little princesses. Yi Xian smiled and gave a few girls a gentle kiss on the face. Hey, Daddy is the best. The little ones also smiled sweetly and threw themselves into Yi Xian's arms. Okay, it's getting late now, we should go home. Yi Xian glanced at the time. It was not too early now. Dad, we don't want to go back yet. But the girls all shook their heads in unison, looking at the beautiful night scene around them, their eyes flickering slightly. Dad, we want to take another walk. Can we? Yi Xian was immediately happy, poked the little girls' heads and said with a smile. Where do you get all the energy tonight? Originally Yi Xian wanted to refuse, but he also thought that it was summer vacation and it would be no problem if the girls wanted to go shopping. As he spoke, Yi Xian smiled, pointed to a pastry shop in front of him, and asked a few little girls. But okay, since you guys were so active and running just now, Daddy will take you to the pastry shop in front to eat some cakes. Ah, this. But the girls swallowed their saliva, smiled bitterly and shook their heads. Dad, forget about the cake. We suddenly don't feel like eating cake anymore. Dad, let's just drink some juice. When they heard about cake, the girls hurriedly refused. They had indeed eaten a lot of cake recently. Okay, Dad will do whatever you want. Yi Xian smiled and curled his lips, then led a few girls to walk forward. Soon, it was the afternoon of the next day. While playing, the little guys began to wink at Tang Hao who was standing beside them. Tang Hao understood instantly, but soon fell into distress again. What reason should he use to get Brother Yi to follow him out? Standing by the window, Tang Hao thought for a long time but couldn't find a reliable idea. In the end, although Tang Hao came up with an idea, he felt that it was a bit far-fetched. Seeing the little girls making eyes at him, Tang Hao began to get anxious. He gritted his teeth and thought that he could only try his best. Afterwards, Tang Hao paused, stood up and walked towards Yi Xian, pretending to be a little anxious.
Oh no, brother Yi, something happened to Bai Ling.
What? In an instant, Yi Xian put down the teacup in his hand, stunned, and looked at Tang Hao in disbelief. At the same time, far away outside, Bai Ling, who was on guard, suddenly sneezed and said something in an unpleasant tone.
Who is cursing me? Chapter 124 Perfect.
Yi Xian didn't say much. He immediately stood up and followed Tang Hao out. Just after Yi Xian and Tang Hao left the villa, several girls suddenly cheered.
Okay, let's start cooking. Wang Xinyao put on her apron and walked over here, waving to the girls.
Good. The little guy nodded and followed Wang Xinyao into the kitchen in a hurry, knowing that he had to hurry up.
Girls, let's start dividing the work. I'll cook and you guys help make the cake. Don't worry, Mom.
Several little girls nodded confidently. They had gone through a lot of practice in the past few days. Although their cake-making skills could not be said to be perfect, they were already very skilled. Then, Wang Xinyao smiled and took out a Q version of Yi Xian made of sugar. After she drew the picture, she specially had someone customize it. After watching it for a while, Wang Xinyao carefully put the model aside and gave instructions to the girls.
Girls, after you make the cake, remember to put the model on it.
Good. The little ones were busy at this time, quickly taking out the prepared fresh eggs and separating the egg whites and yolks. Xiaozi, Xiaoyun, you guys are responsible for beating the egg whites. Xiaoxi, you and Xia should emulsify the milk and corn oil together. Make sure it is emulsified properly this time. Yi Jing, the eldest sister, assigned the tasks meticulously. You know what, even though these little guys are very young, they can really do things well when they're serious about doing things.
Okay. The maids nodded and went back to work on their own tasks.
Yi Jing also started to get busy, sifting the low-gluten flour as finely as possible. This time, the girls learned from their previous lessons and improved the recipe a lot. Now, they did not rush to add the egg yolks, but separated them first and then put them aside. Before beating the egg whites, Xiaozi and Xiaoyun also deliberately added some lemon juice, which can help adjust the pH value of the egg whites and make the egg whites foam better. Wang Xinyao continued to be busy cooking, while also paying attention to the serious looks of the girls. What a good girl, you are so serious. Wang Xinyao spoke to the girls with a smile on her face. Why are you so serious today? A few little girls giggled when they heard this, but did not stop what they were doing and spoke in baby voices.
Because today is Daddy's birthday. Hey, we must give Dad an unforgettable birthday.
So we must make the cake the best. While the little girls were doing it, they thought about Yi Xian's smile when he saw the cake, and they couldn't help but smile. Thinking of this, they also felt that all their efforts over the past few days were worth it.
Okay, then you guys do your best. Dad will be very happy when he comes back later.
Wang Xinyao smiled and nodded, giving the girls a thumbs up.
Mom, you have to cook well too.
Yi Shi playfully stuck out her tongue at Wang Xinyao, revealing her cute and clever little fangs.
Yeah, Mom will. Let's do our best together, okay?
Okay.
Let's work hard with Mom.
While they were still busy in the kitchen, Tang Hao took Yi Xian into the car, and without saying much, he stepped on the accelerator.
Brother Yi, let's go find Bai Ling, right? Tang Hao smiled awkwardly while driving.
Ha, go find her, what could happen to her? Yi Xian smiled and waved his hand, looking at Tang Hao meaningfully.
It's just a few little girls who don't know what to do, so I asked you to send me out. But your reason really leaves me speechless. If Bai Ling knew about this, wouldn't she beat you to death?
Hearing this, Tang Hao shuddered slightly, smiled bitterly, and shook his head.
Brother Yi, so you already know everything. I've been thinking about this for a long time.
Tang Hao was almost doubting his own brain at this time.
He smiled awkwardly and continued to ask. So, Brother Yi, where are we going now?
Yi Xian looked out the window, thought for a moment, and then said calmly.
Let's just find a place to hang out and chat while we're at it. Okay, Brother Yi. Afterwards, the two came to a lake, strolling around and chatting. Tell me, what are you thinking?
Even if you were someone else, I wouldn't have suspected you so early.
If you have to bring up Bai Ling, I'll feel like you're deceiving me.
As Yi Xian spoke, he couldn't help but laugh again and patted Tang Hao on the shoulder.
Brother Yi, the arrow is on the string,
and there is nothing I can do for the time being. Tang Hao shook his head helplessly, but when he thought of the little girls, he put on a warm smile.
But Brother Yi, you really dote on the young ladies too much, and the young ladies love you very much too. Sometimes I feel like raising some daughters.
Yi Xian smiled when he heard that and looked at Tang Hao curiously.
What's wrong? Have you found someone to give birth to your daughter with you? That's not it yet. Tang Hao suddenly felt a critical hit. The gap between him and Brother Yi was still too far.
After joking for a while, Yi Xian changed the subject and looked at Tang Hao beside him, his tone becoming a little more serious.
By the way, what's the situation south of southern Xinjiang like recently? Brother Yi, you don't have to worry too much about this. After all, your knife is still there. As Tang Hao spoke, deep admiration appeared in his eyes. Even now, he still remembers that scene vividly. As long as your sword is still there, they won't dare to act recklessly. Besides, even if there is no knife, I think the scene will shock at least 2 generations. Even if they are given a few more courage, they will definitely not dare to set foot in China again. Brother Yi, you suddenly mentioned this, do you need me to get your knife back? At this time, Tang Hao thought that Yi Xian asked this because he wanted to get the knife back, so he asked with concern. No need, just leave it there. Yi Xian laughed and said jokingly. When I need it, I'll get it myself, but I hope that time won't come. At this moment, Yi Xian stopped, looked up at the sky with sunset glow, and narrowed his eyes slightly. Tang Hao, who was standing next to him, also had a worried look on his face and sighed softly. In the blink of an eye, Wang Xinyo had already prepared a variety of delicious dishes in the villa and placed them on the dining table. Today, Wang Xinyo also specially made some careful plating to make the dishes look delicious and appetizing. After cooking the dishes, Wang Xinyo also specially cooked a bowl of longevity noodles. The soup looked crystal clear and the noodles were delicate. The cakes made by the little girls were also being made in great shape and had reached the final step. Xiao Yun, is the oven preheated? While Yi Jing was dealing with the bubbles in the mold, she brushed a layer of corn oil on the edge of the mold. Okay. It's all right now. Yi Yun smiled and nodded. She had already adjusted the upper and lower oven temperatures according to what Wang Xinyo had taught them before, and also preheated the oven. Then let's get started. Several girls nodded solemnly, picked up the mold sacredly, wrapped it with gloves, and put it into the oven steadily. Call. Yi Xiao let out a breath and wiped the sweat off his face. Now let's just wait for the cake to come out of the oven. Then, time ticked away, and nearly 40 minutes passed. A round chiffon cake about 8 inches in size was perfectly presented in front of everyone. A few girls took out the brushes and scrapers that had been prepared in advance and carefully applied a layer of white and delicious cream. Well, that's all. Yi Jing clapped his hands, admiring the works of himself and others, his eyes filled with a sense of accomplishment. The other little girls also had smug smiles on their faces and said with laughter. He. Dad will definitely be very happy when he sees these. Wang Xinyo watched the girls finish making the cake, walked over with a smile, looked at the cake this time, and nodded with satisfaction. Well, very good, it's perfect this time. After praising the girls for a few words, Wang Xinyo took out the Q version of Yi Xian's doll and said to the girls. Let's put Dad's Q version model on it. Good. Afterwards, Wang Xinyo brought a few girls and carefully placed the Q version of Yi Xian's model on the top of the cake. Yeah, perfect. Chapter 125 Celebrating Dada's Birthday. Wang Xinyo looked at the cake at this time and was very satisfied. Now, we just wait for your dad to come back. Aha! Several maids nodded, and then began to busily bring the cake to the table and began to carefully arrange it. At the same time, Tang Hao on the riverside looked at the time, and it was already dark. Brother Yi, it's almost time now, why don't we go back? Yi Xian nodded. It was getting dark now and it was time to go back. Well, let's go, but you have to tell me, what is going on? This, Brother Yi, don't you know? Tang Hao looked at Yi Xian with some confusion and asked timidly. How should I know? I just know that they are doing something recently, but I don't know what it is. Yi Xian spread his hands helplessly. He really didn't know what was going on here. Okay, Brother Yi, let's go back quickly. Tang Hao shook his head with a wry smile. He didn't even know what was going on, yet he was called out by a few girls. Well, let's go now. Whatever it is, we'll know when we get back. Afterwards, the two quickly left the lake and drove back to the villa. But after returning, I saw that the whole villa was dark. This is a bit abnormal. Yi Xian couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Are they not at home? Then he quickly walked into the villa, and Tang Hao closed the door and locked himself outside. Yi Xian looked at the dark mass, smiled and murmured in a low voice. What do these little girls want to do?
But in the next moment, Yi Xian saw the candles lit, and then they illuminated the table full of dishes and cakes, as well as several little girls and Wang Xinniao next to them. Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Afterwards, the little ones and Wang Xinniao clapped their hands and sang the birthday song. Yi Xian was stunned at this moment, and then he smiled bitterly. It turned out that today was his birthday. He himself almost forgot about it. After all, he hadn't celebrated his birthday in many years. Happy birthday, Dad! After singing the birthday song, the girls threw themselves into Yi Xian's arms and offered their most sincere blessings. Then, several maids took Yi Xian's hand, pulled him to the dining table, and said with a smile, "Dad, make a wish and blow out the candles." Yi Xian gently rubbed the little heads of the girls and agreed with a smile. Then, Yi Xian stepped forward, closed his eyes, thought about the faces of the little girls and Wang Xinniao, and made a wish that had been hidden in his heart. "Dad, blow out the candles." Seeing Yi Xian open his eyes, several maids pulled his clothes. Yi Xian hugged a few little girls and said with a smile, "You guys come and play with Daddy." "Okay." Several girls nodded, and then pulled Wang Xinniao along. The family of 7 smiled at each other and blew out the candles in one breath. Afterwards, Wang Xinniao turned on the light, and a table of exquisite dishes appeared in front of her. "You must be hungry. Let's eat." Yi Xian nodded, suddenly remembered something, and looked at the girls beside him. "Girls, go call Uncle Tang Hao in first. Let's eat together." "Good." The little guys nodded, rushed to the door, and then pulled Tang Hao in together. "Brother Yi, what is this?" Tang Hao looked at Yi Xian in a daze and asked cautiously. "Okay, sit down and taste your sister-in-law's cooking." "Hey, okay." Tang Hao didn't refuse as he was hungry. Brother Yi, I wish you a happy birthday too." After agreeing, Tang Hao sat aside and stammered as he wished Yi Xian a happy birthday. By the way, did you tell them that today is my birthday?" Yi Xian agreed with a smile, then asked a question. That's not the case." Tang Hao shook his head, but Yi Xian smiled and nodded. "That's great. I don't have to tell them anymore." "This." Tang Hao couldn't help but hesitate and asked Yi Xian curiously. "What's wrong, Brother Yi? Are you afraid that they will leave their post without permission? Or are you worried that too many people will come?" But Yi Xian shook his head, poured a glass of wine for himself and Tang Hao, and handed it to Tang Hao while speaking unhappily. "I just don't want them to bother me anymore. It's not as complicated as you think." When Yi Xian said this, there was clearly a hint of disdain in his eyes. For a moment, Tang Hao was stunned. From the look in Brother Ye's eyes, he could tell that what Brother Yi said was true. After the meal, everyone cleaned up together for a while. A few little girls took this opportunity to mischievously smear the cake on Yi Xian's face. "Ha ha ha! Dad has turned into Santa Claus." At this moment, several girls looked at the creams on Yi Xian's face and burst into laughter. "Watch this." But Yi Xian reacted and scooped a spoonful of cream from his hand and smeared it on the faces of the girls. "Let's go together. Dad is definitely no match for us." A few little girls laughed and swarmed towards Yi Xian, and a fierce chase started. After playing around for a while, Wang Xinniao walked to Yi Xian, smiled gently, and said to Yi Xian, "Eat this now. I drew it for you and customized it for you." Yi Xian smiled when he heard that, and looking at the cute version of himself in front of him, a hint of tenderness appeared in his eyes. He waved his hand and said, "It would be a shame to eat it. Since you gave it to me, I'd better keep it well." "Okay. As long as you like it." Wang Xinniao nodded, then moved closer to Yi Xian and kissed him on the face several times. Several little guys were watching from the side, and they all covered their faces immediately. "Mom and Dad, shame on you." Tang Hao also swallowed his saliva. This was a mouthful of dog food that he was forced to eat. It turns out that what asked me to come in to eat was not the food, but this thing. Tang Hao muttered a few numbers to himself, and without staying any longer, he strode out of here. Time passed slowly, and after we finished cleaning up the place, it was already quite late. Wang Xinniao took a few girls to take a bath, and Yi Xian also took a shower and prepared to go to bed early. Inside the room, Yi Xian held a few maids in his arms, a trace of pity on his face, and spoke softly. "You little girls, you must be tired these past few days. This is what our mother taught us." The little girls blinked and looked at Wang Xinniao, who was sleeping beside them. "And Mom is the one who does the most and cares the most." Hearing this, Yi Xian looked towards Wang Xinyao, his eyes full of doting. Wang Xinyao's face suddenly turned red, like a red fruit, extremely tempting. At this moment, the body temperatures of both of them suddenly rose a lot, and a mysterious atmosphere seemed to be revealed in the air. Chapter 126 Southeast Division. Yi Xian looked at the little girls, sighed repeatedly, shook his head, and had to go back to sleep. The next day, Yi Xian had just gotten up when he saw the message from Zhang Qingtian, inviting him to a gathering at the southeast branch of the Yanhuang military. Yi Xian looked at the message and thought that he would be going back to Jinling in the next few days, so he decided to go over and take a look. So he replied with a message and agreed. It's almost time, let's go make breakfast for the girls first. After replying to the message, Yi Xian stretched, then stood up and walked towards the kitchen. After making breakfast, Yi Xian looked at Wang Xinyao and several little girls who were still sleeping soundly, so he left the villa first. After a while, when the little girls woke up, they didn't see Yi Xian and became a little anxious. The little guys searched around the villa but couldn't find Yi Xian. Where is Daddy? Yi Shi searched for a long time but did not see any trace of her father. Her eyes became red and she sat down on the floor weakly. Her nose felt sore and she was about to cry. Why is Dad missing again? Yi Jing and several other girls were also very anxious. After searching for a while without finding him, they took out their cell phones and called Yi Xian. What's wrong, Jingjing? After the call was connected, Yi Xian's gentle voice came from the receiver. Dad! Where have you been? That's right. Why didn't you tell us? Dad, please come back soon. As soon as Yi Xian finished speaking, several maids started asking questions at once. Okay, Daddy is going out for something, you guys stay home and be good, and listen to Mommy. Okay, Dad. The little ones pursed their lips and could only nod in agreement. Then Dad, you have to promise us that you will come back early. Dad, we miss you so much. Dad, please be careful outside and walk on the sidewalk when crossing the road. A few little girls then gave Yi Xian a few more instructions, all hoping that Yi Xian would come back soon. Okay, Dad will be back when he finishes his work. Be good. After finishing the call, the girls looked at the table full of breakfast and smiled sweetly. Oh, Mom isn't awake yet. Yi Yan pouted and was about to wash up and eat, but she remembered Wang Xinyao who was still sleeping. Let's go wake up Mom for breakfast. Hey. Okay. They hit it off immediately and the girls rushed back to the room. They all jumped onto the bed, gently rubbed Wang Xinyao's face and spoke in a baby voice. Mom, it's time to get up. Mom, get up and have breakfast. Well, how come Mom can sleep better than us? Wang Xinyao was still sleeping soundly. After all, she was busy with Yi Xian's birthday these days and was quite tired, so she planned to sleep a little longer today. But after being teased by these little girls, no matter how soundly they slept, they would wake up. Hey, Mom, you're finally awake. Opening her eyes, Wang Xinyao looked at the little girls who were smiling at her foolishly. She couldn't do anything about them, so she yawned and turned over to get up. Afterwards, Wang Xinyao and a few maids finished washing up and sat at the dining table to eat breakfast. They also learned that Yi Xian had gone out. I say, little girls, don't tie Daddy so tightly. Daddy has something to do too. Knowing that a few little guys had just been looking for Yi Xian all over the villa, Wang Xinyao said a few words seriously. When Dad is going out, don't be so anxious. It's not like he won't come back. Got it? Mom, we got it. The girls nodded gently, knowing that their mother was right. Well, that's good. Let's continue eating breakfast. Wang Xinyao looked at the little girls and agreed obediently. She smiled and continued to peel eggs for them. Just at this moment, there was a knock on the door of the villa. The little girls, who were still chewing sandwiches in their mouths, heard the sound and thought it was their father coming back, so they hurriedly jumped off their chairs and ran towards the door. Hey, slow down, it's not like your dad doesn't have a key. Wang Xinyao looked at the maids helplessly, thinking that they must be guests. Aunt Yu Yan. Yi Shi was the first to open the door. When she saw that it was Aunt Yu Yan, she immediately threw herself into Zhang Yuyan's arms. Aunt Yu Yan, why are you here? Aunt Yu Yan, come in and sit down, we are having breakfast. Good morning, Aunt Yu Yan. We missed you so much. Auntie, would you like to try the breakfast our dad made? It's delicious. Zhang Yuyan looked at the little girls with a smile, pursed her lips and smiled, tapped the girls' heads, and then followed the girls in. Auntie has eaten, she just came to see you.
By the way, are your parents here? Well, Mom is sitting inside, and Dad is out for something. At this moment, Wang Xinyao also walked over here. When she saw that it was Zhang Yuyan, she was stunned for a moment, then she walked forward excitedly and held Zhang Yuyan's hand. Yuyan, why are you here? Zhang Yuyan looked at Wang Xinyao in her pajamas and didn't say anything. Instead, she turned her head and looked around. Then she smiled slyly and said to Wang Xinyao, Xinyao, where is your husband? When Wang Xinyao heard this, her face suddenly turned red. She pinched Zhang Yuyan lightly, coughed and said, Ahem. He's out busy. Zhang Yuyan nodded with a wicked smile, took Wang Xinyao's hand and sat on the sofa beside her, and asked softly, By the way, when are you getting married? I want to be your bridesmaid then. While speaking, Zhang Yuyan touched Wang Xinyao's belly and said jokingly, Is your belly still not moving? With all those little girls, don't you plan to have another son with your husband? Wang Xinyao exclaimed, quickly pulled away Zhang Yuyan's hand on her belly, and said with a coquettish tone, What are you talking about? I haven't thought about this. Okay. I won't tease you anymore. Zhang Yuyan nodded with a wicked smile, then became a little more serious, looked at Wang Xinyao, and spoke seriously. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. When you get married to your husband, you have to leave a bridesmaid position for me. I know. How could I forget you? Wang Xinyao nodded helplessly, looked at the little girls who were still sitting and eating, and sighed again. She and Yi Xian haven't even consummated their marriage yet, let alone getting married. On the other side, Tang Hao was driving and taking Yi Xian to the southeast branch of the Yanhuang military. Brother Yi, the southeast branch looks much bigger than our southwest branch. Tang Hao looked at the scene in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. Ha, this is normal. Yi Xian smiled, waved his hand gently, and continued. After all, this is on the southeast coast, where the economy is developed. We don't need these over there. Instead, we need more ruthless and powerful elites who are ready to destroy any enemy who dares to invade. When Tang Hao heard this, his eyes narrowed and he nodded heavily. At this time, at the entrance of the southeast branch of the Yanhuang military headquarters, Zhang Qingtian was leading a group of senior officials standing at the door and had been waiting for some time. Among them, of course, there was also Zhang Ju, who was at the previous banquet. When he heard that Yi Xian was coming, he was more excited than anyone else. But the guards standing by were all stunned. Why did all these high-ranking officials come to the door today? Is this posture intended to welcome someone? Oh my God, what's going on? So many senior executives are here. Wow! Even General Zhang Long is here. The scariest thing is, they look like they are welcoming someone. At this point, all the guards were stunned. They had never seen such a scene before. For a moment, the guards were all wondering in their hearts, who on earth was this person that deserved to be greeted like this by these important figures? Here it comes. Chapter 127: The Eight Families. In the silence, someone exclaimed, breaking the silence, and then everyone's eyes looked forward. Suddenly, a black Hongqi L5 drove into everyone's sight. Now, all the dragon generals had a solemn look on their faces, even Zhang Qingtian, the dragon general. The guards were even more shocked at this moment. Just judging from the car, the person coming was definitely a high-ranking official. The red flag soon stopped at the door, and a group of senior executives came to greet it. The guards were even more stunned by this scene. These were not ordinary members of the Yanhuang army, they were the top brass of the entire branch. Even these high-level officials were so respectful to everyone who came. But forget about that, why is it that even the top commander of this military division, General Zhang Long, is like this? The guards had a million questions in their minds at this moment, they simply couldn't figure out the other party's identity. At this time, the door of the Hongqi car opened, Yi Xian and Tang Hao got out of the car, and a group of senior executives immediately surrounded them and greeted them respectfully. General Yi Long, you are here. General Yi Long, please come in. Not only other senior executives, but also Zhang Qingtian looked at Yi Xian with a smile and said humbly, Instructor, I am sorry for not welcoming you. Please come in. Yi Xian nodded slightly, and then walked in surrounded by Zhang Qingtian and other senior executives. The crowd had been inside for a long time, but the guards outside the door still had a dazed look on their faces. Yi Xian's expression just now, and the way other dragon generals and high-ranking officials addressed him, were still echoing in their ears like lingering sounds. Who is this person? One of the guards trembled and looked at the others in disbelief. Suddenly, he felt as if his throat was blocked and he couldn't say anything. The other people couldn't help swallowing and spoke with trembling voices after a long while. Yi War God. This is Yi War God. At this moment, the eyes of these guards were all shining with excitement, and it was difficult to describe the excitement in their hearts at this moment. They actually saw the legendary God of War Yi, and he was so close to them. When they thought of the legend of God of War Yi in the Yanhuang military, they all felt that it was really worth it to be able to meet God of War Yi in this lifetime. Who is Yi Zhanshan? That is the belief in the hearts of all members of the Yanhuang army. I wonder how many people were shocked by that iron-blooded man who once used only one sword to intimidate foreign enemies and guard the southern border. Even many of them, in the beginning, made joining the Yanhuang military their only goal because they heard the legend of the God of War Yi by chance. Now that they have met their godlike idol, how can they not be excited? Just when the guards were in an uproar, Yi Xian walked into the branch accompanied by a group of senior executives. Looking at the many military members who were patrolling or training, Yi Xian thought of the potion and looked at Zhang Qingtian beside him. By the way, Qingtian, Sun Ji's medicine should have been delivered, right? Zhang Qingtian nodded suddenly when he heard this. Speaking of this medicine, he was also surprised. This potion, which only took half a sip to finish, could actually have such an effect. While improving the physical fitness, it also greatly increased the strength of many military members. Come to think of it, the only person in the world who can get such medicine is my instructor. Instructor, it has been delivered. I have to say, the effect is amazing. Well, that's good. Yi Xian nodded with satisfaction. Although this potion was not of much use to him, it was still of great help to the Yanhuang military. Instructor, how about this, I take you around for a walk? Zhang Qingtian didn't know what he was thinking of at this time. Suddenly his eyes turned and he looked at Yi Xian and asked with a smile. Can. Yi Xian agreed and looked at the surrounding facilities and buildings, muttering to himself. It just so happens that I haven't been here for a long time, and it looks like there have been a lot of changes. General Yi Long, let us accompany you too. Yes, we are very familiar with this place, and we have nothing to do here, so let's accompany General Yi Long to take a look. General Yi Long, I have admired you for a long time. It's not easy for you to come this time, so we must show you around. At this time, other senior executives and dragon generals also spoke enthusiastically, but Zhang Qingtian on the side rolled his eyes at them and spoke unhappily. What's wrong? What's wrong? Don't you have anything to do? I didn't say anything, why are you so excited? Leave the task of accompanying General Yi Long to me. You guys are not idle people, just go and do what you are supposed to do. Alright, everyone, go away. Don't disturb General Yi Long here. Go away. But Zhang Longjiang. Seeing Zhang Qingtian was about to dismiss everyone, some people inside were unwilling to do so, but as soon as they opened their mouths to speak, they were blocked by Zhang Qingtian. But what? There's nothing to but. Let's all go back. Oh, okay. After all, Zhang Qingtian is the boss here. Now that he has spoken, others cannot have any opinions and can only leave sadly. Zhang Qingtian then took Yi Xian and Tang Hao to stroll around the branch. The remaining dragon generals on the other side were looking at Zhang Qingtian's back with complaining faces, and each of them looked aggrieved and puzzled. Boss, this is really disrespectful. Oh, that's right. I don't understand what's wrong with us accompanying General Yi Long. Is there anything wrong with that? I thought so too, but I don't know what happened to the boss today. He's so mysterious. Although they complained a lot, Zhang Qingtian's words still carried weight. After everyone discussed it for a while, they could only disperse helplessly. Here, Yi Xian was walking beside Zhang Qingtian. Thinking of what happened just now, he couldn't help but smile and looked at Zhang Qingtian meaningfully. What's wrong? What on earth is there that you can't let them see? Zhang Qingtian spread his hands, let out a long sigh, and gave Yi Xian a thumbs up in admiration. Alas, it turns out that nothing can be hidden from you, instructor. I want to take you to see a special team organized by me, but now, the winner is leading it. Tang Hao, who was walking nearby, was also stunned when he heard this and asked in surprise. General Zhang Long, is this winner you are talking about the winner among the 8 major families? Zhang Qingtian nodded. After all, he had great respect for Tang Hao. Back then, Tang Hao was also a man who fought his way out of a sea of blood and corpses. If he had not retired, after the instructor left, the position of the head of the southwestern military would have been Tang Hao's. I heard that the instructor was kind to Tang Hao back then,
and since then Tang Hao has always followed the instructor and didn't even want such a high position and generous salary. As the saying goes, a soldier who doesn't want to be a general is not a good soldier. But just when everyone thought that Tang Hao would take up this high position, this happened. When he thought of this, Zhang Qingtian admired him even more. Not everyone can do such a thing. After confirming that they were the 8 major families, Tang Hao frowned. After all, these 8 families have existed from ancient times to the present day, and they are the 8 oldest families in the whole of China. These families not only possess a background that is unimaginable to the outside world, but are also full of mystery. Chapter 128. You're looking for death. However, these people usually don't go out. How did Zhang Qingtian invite them? General Zhang Long, it's not easy to invite these 8 families here. How did you invite them? Zhang Qingtian smiled bitterly, and couldn't help but sigh when he thought of this experience. Alas, this also took a lot of effort. After all, they have experienced countless changes in history. They don't care about many things, which is different from ordinary people. As for those people from the Ying family, I still remember them clearly. They were a bunch of guys with arrogance higher than the sky. Yi Xian smiled and nodded, patting Zhang Qingtian on the shoulder. People from the 8 major families are all like this. At this moment, Tang Hao and Zhang Qingtian were stunned for a moment, and then looked at Yi Xian in shock. Instructor, have you ever dealt with people from the 8 major families? Zhang Qingtian asked in disbelief, and a huge storm rose in his heart. Yi Xian looked at the 2 people's dazed expressions and did not answer, but smiled indifferently. Okay, let's go. Seeing that Yi Xian didn't want to talk, the 2 stopped asking questions and hurriedly followed him. Soon, everyone came to a training ground, and from a long distance away, they heard a roar. When we walked closer, we found that this group of people should be the team that Zhang Qingtian mentioned. These military members were wearing training short-sleeved shirts at this time. They looked strong and full of power. And the torn muscles all over his body were about to burst the short-sleeved shirt. Their skin is also bronze in tone, which looks rich in texture and full of masculine toughness and bravery. At this moment, the members are conducting fighting training. When their fists break through the air, there is a burst of explosive sounds. This shows how terrifying this magnificent power is. However, in the training ground, there were several different figures, probably shuttling among the members who were training, muttering and cursing at the members. What kind of useless people are you? Is this the strength of a child? Don't tell me that the Yanhuang military is full of rubbish like this. In addition to these curses, these people always find fault with everything. Even if it is the slightest flaw, they will not hesitate to beat up the players who are in training. Their attacks were quite ruthless, but even though the members were in so much pain that they were sweating all over their heads, they remained silent and continued their fighting training. What kind of a thing are you? You have pig brains. You can't even remember a single thing I taught you. Are you the so-called elites? It seems you are not even as good as the women in our area. Hurry up and stop being so fussy. I'll look down on you. These beatings and scoldings were not without insulting elements, and some of them made Yi Xian frown when he heard them. Although their branch had trained in a similar way before, they would stop at the right time because too much is as bad as too little. However, these military members who were receiving training all had firm looks in their eyes, and the fire in their eyes told others that they just wanted to become stronger. The soldiers are good soldiers. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian praised in a low voice. Zhang Qingtian was listening at the side and understood what Yi Xian meant. He spoke to Yi Xian seriously. Instructor, these are the elites I carefully selected. I plan to have them become instructors of the Yanhuang military department in the future and pass on all the combat skills they have learned. But now, they can only suffer. As he spoke, Zhang Qingtian revealed a hint of admiration in his heart. These military members are all great. Well, that's fine too. Yi Xian nodded in agreement and couldn't help but take another look at these military members who were receiving training. Afterwards, the few of them didn't say anything else, but stood by and watched for a while. After an unknown amount of time, the training here stopped and the members all sat down to rest. Zhang Qingtian and others saw this and walked over here. When these military members saw Zhang Qingtian and Zhang Long coming over, they quickly stood up. Snap! The military members in front of them saluted Zhang Qingtian and his companions solemnly. Although they were tired, they still stood up and greeted them. Hello, General Zhang Long. The winner also noticed Zhang Qingtian here. Although he still had a sense of pride in his heart, he nodded politely. Although their 8 major families are indeed proud of their existence in the world, the Yanhuang military is also unprecedentedly large, so the two gangs respect each other, at least verbally. But at this time, no matter whether it was the members of the military or the winners, they all noticed Yi Xian, who was standing shoulder to shoulder with Zhang Qingtian and even half a step forward than Zhang Qingtian. They were all slightly shocked. Zhang Qingtian looked at their speculative eyes, grinned, and spoke slowly. Well, you guessed it right, this person is Yi Longzhang, the war god Yi that you often discuss. In an instant, all members of the Yanhuang military were shocked and looked at Yi Xian with fiery eyes. You are Yi Zhanshan. It turns out that Yi Zhanshan is really that young. Yi Zhanshan, you are my eternal role model and goal. Suddenly, all these military members jumped up. This was the god of war Yi, whom they all respected. In their daily training, in the past years, these passionate men have always taken Yi Xian as their goal and pushed themselves all day long, which led to the group of elites they have today. It can be said that even though Yi Xian has not personally guided them, he has become a guide in their hearts spiritually. The legend that lasted until today is something they will never forget in their lifetime, and that figure as powerful as a god is now standing in front of them. Hello, you are all great. Looking at the military members in front of him, Yi Xian nodded in praise. Immediately afterwards, one of the men suddenly stood up, looked at Yi Xian in front of him, his heart indescribably excited, and immediately clasped his fists and bowed to beg. General Yi Long, may I ask for your advice? As he spoke, the man's eyes were as hot as fire and his body was trembling slightly. But this is not because of fear, but the excitement that seeps from the bones. After all, when most people meet their idols, they mostly ask for autographs or take photos, but these iron-blooded men have their own way. Fighting is their respect for the strong and their commitment to the beliefs in their hearts. Chapter 129, Piercing. Zhang Qingtian frowned when he heard this and was about to speak when Yi Xian smiled gently, nodded and said, Okay. Suddenly, there were cheers of encouragement all around, and these military members respected Yi Xian even more. Yi Zhanshan is indeed Yi Zhanshan. Well done, General Yi Long, you are indeed the only man I admire. Ha, this is the war god Yi we admire. On the winner's side, a young man looked at this situation and said to the middle-aged man next to him in confusion, Uncle, Gu Bing is one of the best in this team. His hands now have the strength of 1,000 pounds. Having said that, the young man couldn't help but look at Yi Xian again and then asked. But this young man looks innocent, which means he has a higher rank. How dare he accept the challenge? Upon hearing this, Ying Bai stared at Ying Lin, his eyes suddenly became stern, and he began to talk about the previous legend. You may not know this yet, but this clean-skinned man you are talking about is a legendary figure. In those days, when the enemy invaded the southwest frontier, it was this man who carried a red flag and held a steel knife, and drove the enemy back thousands of miles, while he himself remained unscathed. Even now, the sword that this man used back then is still standing there. It's like a real dragon sitting there. No one dares to attack from now on. As soon as these words were spoken, not only Ying Lin, but all the people around him who were the winners, took a deep breath. Ying Lin's eyes widened at this moment. If it was true as his second uncle said, this man was simply a walking god. Ying Bai, who was standing by, looked at everyone's surprised expressions, coughed a few times, then changed the subject and continued. Although the legend says so, it is not necessarily true. Maybe the other party was shocked by the overall strength of China at that time. But since there is such a legend, he must be quite good. I just don't know to what extent he can reach. The people around him thought about it and realized what Ying Bai said made sense, and then they recovered a little from their shock. After all, who can really achieve the goal of one man, one sword, and one red flag, and drive the enemy back thousands of miles away? This is really too ridiculous. After discussing for a while, the winners stopped talking and focused their attention on Yi Xian and Gu Bing. Gu Bing walked over solemnly and bowed deeply to Yi Xian. General Yi Long, please forgive my audacity and thank you for your willingness to teach me. It's okay, just do your best. Yi Xian smiled and waved his hand. Good. Gu Bing agreed, then exerted force on his feet, stared at Yi Xian, and suddenly accelerated, and a fierce fist wind whistled towards him. This Gu Bing really has some strength. His punch seemed to cut through the air and erupted with a terrifying force. His speed is also extraordinary. If it were an ordinary person, it could be said that he would simply look down on his punching movements. But this time, he was facing Yi Xian. Yi Xian's expression was calm. He dodged Gu Bing's heavy punch by moving his body lightly to the side. Then he knocked Gu Bing to the ground with an elbow. Ah! Gu Bing screamed, and suddenly fell heavily to the ground, his body instantly going limp. And this is the result of Yi Xian showing mercy. Yi Xian nodded, having already noticed a problem, then walked to Gu Bing and extended his hand to him. Get up. Thank you, General Yi Long. At this moment, Gu Bing admired the man from the bottom of his heart. The strength of this legendary man was truly terrifying. Well, your strength is good, and your speed is good, but remember, your pace is especially important. When you attacked just now, your steps were too erratic, your center of gravity was unstable, and you couldn't switch flexibly between offense and defense. This is a big taboo in a battle. After helping Gu Bing up, Yi Xian made a few comments. Thank you, General Yi Long, for your guidance. Gu Bing bowed deeply. He didn't expect that Yi Long would be willing to teach him and give him such careful guidance. Afterwards, Gu Bing retreated back to the team, and other members of the military also came forward, hoping to get Yi Xian's guidance. You guys? Zhang Qingtian was about to speak, but Yi Xian beside him stopped him with a smile and said, It's okay. It's not easy for me to come here once. It's my duty to give you some guidance. All right. Zhang Qingtian then nodded and stood aside obediently. Afterwards, Yi Xian fought against several military members and killed them all instantly. However, during this process, Yi Xian's brows furrowed even deeper. On the other side, the winner was also shocked when he saw this situation. They were such self-righteous guys who believed that there were no other masters outside the 8 major families, but now they also slightly acknowledged Yi Xian's strength. Ing Lin smacked his lips and spoke in shock. This isn't even my full strength yet. Upon hearing this, Ing Bai nodded, and his eyes looking at Yi Xian became much more serious. He had a vague feeling, a feeling that even he found incredible, that if he faced this man, his fate might be the same as these military members. After a while, Yi Xian's side once again decided the winner, and all the military members in front of him admired him sincerely. You are very good. You are considered the elite of the first echelon in the Yanhuang military. Very good. Yi Xian also looked at these military members with a smile, praised them a few words, and pointed out some problems. But I can see that there are some problems with your power. I will help you improve it when the time comes. In a word, all the military members here were overjoyed and admired Yi Xian beyond words. But the winner was not happy and frowned immediately. You can't say such things casually. Isn't it obvious that the meaning of this is that there is something wrong with the boxing style taught by the winner? Ing Lin gritted his teeth, walked up, looked at Yi Xian and spoke. General Yi Long, I also want to try it with you, please teach me. Yi Xian looked at Ing Lin in front of him and asked with some curiosity. Who are you? General Yi Long, I am from the side branch of the winner, Ing Lin. Hearing this, Yi Xian nodded seriously and muttered to himself. Oh, no wonder, the direct descendant must have kept something back, which is why the force-generating technique they taught me is problematic. As soon as these words came out, everyone around was silent, and even Zhang Qingtian's mouth twitched suddenly. Yi Xian said this without any concealment, it was simply a slap in the face of the winner. But the tone of his voice sounded like an objective analysis, with no other tone, and no insult in his voice. But even so, this sentence completely ignited Ing Lin and the others, and instantly all the winners felt their blood pressure soaring. Ing Lin glared at Yi Xian fiercely, his face suddenly darkened, and he looked at Yi Xian in a bad tone and spoke. What do you mean? How dare you slander my winner's family? Yi Xian shook his head and turned around. At this moment, he no longer had any interest in fighting with this man. Are you scared? Seeing that Yi Xian didn't say anything, Ing Lin turned around and still refused to give in. It is said that you once stood in the western frontier with only one sword and one red flag, defending against the enemy thousands of miles away. Today, I want to learn a few tricks from you. I want to see how capable a legendary figure like you is. Is it true or not? After these two sentences were spoken, everyone frowned suddenly. The military members were stunned at first, and then anger suddenly rose in their eyes. Presumptuous! Zhang Qingtian also roared angrily at this time, thinking to himself, how could a descendant of the 8 major families dare to be so lawless? But before Zhang Qingtian finished his words, Yi Xian, who had turned around, suddenly turned back, exerted force with his feet, and a stone flew towards Ing Lin at high speed. Bang! The stone was moving so fast that it made a violent friction sound with the air, and rushed towards Ing Lin's throat like lightning. In a split second, Ing Lin didn't even see clearly how fast it was. He just felt his eyelids twitching and instinctively blocked his throat with his arms. Ah! But as Ing Lin let out a scream, the stone pierced through his arms in an instant and then burst into his throat. This blow made him fly backwards and fall heavily to the ground. When he got up, his arms were covered in blood. There were two shocking, completely pierced blood holes, which were still oozing blood. It looked simply horrible. There was also an obvious bloodstain on his throat. If he hadn't blocked it with his arms, it would have pierced his neck directly. Boom! For a moment, everyone was stunned, with unspeakable shock flashing in their eyes. Looking at Ying Lin's hands, their own hands could not help but tremble. Chapter 130, So Horrible. Those military members who had just fought with Yi Xian only realized at this moment that what Yi Xian had just released on them was not water, but the sea. Zhang Qingtian also took a breath of cold air, thinking that the instructor's strength has only increased over the years. Ying Lin and the other winners were unable to utter a word at this time, their eyes were filled with fear. Ying Lin was almost collapsed. He could see that Yi Xian didn't want to be too drastic. If he really wanted to kill him, it would be a matter of a moment. Yi Xian looked at Ying Lin expressionlessly at this time and said coldly, "If there is a next time, you will die." With just one sentence, all the winners were stunned, and the military members didn't even dare to breathe. This feeling of oppression is like a mountain pressing down on one's head, making it hard for anyone to breathe. Ying Lin and Ying Jia suddenly felt a thick blood mist that was about to materialize, invisibly covering their bodies and making it difficult for them to breathe. This is a bloody smell, as if accompanied by the death knell ringing as death approaches step by step. Now they could understand why this man was able to repel the enemy thousands of miles away with just one sword. Because Yi Xian is so powerful that he can become a nightmare for all those ambitious people. Ying Bai shuddered, swallowed his saliva, and hurried forward, expressing his apologies to Yi Xian one after another, not daring to show any temper at all. "General Yi Long, I am sorry that I did not know the rules of etiquette and made you angry. I hope you can be magnanimous and not take it to heart. On behalf of the winner, I sincerely apologize to you. We were wrong just now. I hope you can forgive us." At this moment, Ying Bai bent down and bowed deeply, his face still turned pale, and his heart was extremely shocked. Yi Xian didn't say anything, but walked aside. "Send him down to me." Seeing this, Ying Bai slowly stood up and waved to the few children of the Ying family who were still in a daze. Then they quickly sent Ying Lin away. At this time, Yi Xian was standing in front of a group of military members, talking about the techniques of exerting force. "Now I will demonstrate it myself and tell you exactly what mistake you made. You must listen carefully." "Yes." Yi Xian looked at the energetic military members and nodded with satisfaction. "Although your strength problem is small, it is fatal in actual combat. You will not be allowed to make the same mistake a second time." As he spoke, Yi Xian clenched his fists and demonstrated. "Look, when I do this, it's like I'm making a fist. Pay attention to the movement of my joints." Then, Yi Xian threw a punch imitating the actions of the military members just now. "I don't know if you've noticed, but although my punches are very concentrated in strength, the stiff joints and the ineffectiveness of other muscle groups are fatal. Practice for combat, not for show. This will indeed allow you to improve temporarily, but the source of strength should be the whole body." Afterwards, Yi Xian stood up again, exerted force on his feet, and punched out suddenly, like the roar of a tiger or a dragon, leaving the military members dumbfounded. They all found it hard to imagine what terrible consequences would occur if they were hit by this punch. "How is it? My power is very smooth now. This is the effect of gathering the strength of the whole body." Crash! Suddenly, the military members burst into thunderous applause. At this time, they had begun to realize their mistakes and were convinced by Yi Xian. Ying Bai, who was standing aside, was also listening, and his heart began to become more and more shocked. What Yi Xian said just now was not a joke, it was true. Could it be that this was really as Yi Xian said, that the master had kept something back? Ying Bai thought about it, swallowed his saliva, and continued reading. But then, the more Yi Xian changed his force technique, the more shocked he was. In the end, Ying Bai was completely speechless. As for the military members, their progress was even faster at this time. With Yi Xian's guidance and their own foundation, they quickly mastered it. Afterwards, Ying Bai walked to Yi Xian again and bowed deeply. "General Yi Long, this is indeed our fault. You are right. I have nothing to say." But Yi Xian looked at him but didn't say anything. Instead, he turned to Zhang Qingtian beside him. "Qingtian, remember, give the medicine to these members first." "Okay, instructor." Zhang Qingtian nodded heavily. Yi Xian felt relieved. After saying goodbye to these military members, he walked to Zhang Qingtian's side.
Okay, let them continue training, I'm going back first. Instructor, let me take you out.
Seeing that Zhang Qingtian was going to send him off, Yi Xian shook his head and looked at Tang Hao beside him.
It's okay, you continue to be busy, Tang Hao and I will go out. All right.
Zhang Qingtian nodded then, but thinking that it was not too late, he spoke again.
Instructor, it's still quite early. How about I continue to walk around with you? Yeah, that's fine.
Yi Xian paused, then agreed, and the three of them turned and walked to the other side. No one spoke at this time, but looked at Yi Xian's back and watched him leave. Only after they could no longer see Yi Xian's figure clearly did everyone come to their senses. Their eyes were filled with shock, and they stared at each other.
This is the strength of Yi Zhanshan. I am convinced. Yes, now I finally understand why Yi Zhanshan was so legendary back then. He is so powerful. Such power is simply heart-pounding. It's an existence that can never be surpassed even if you look up to it.
The military members were talking about it for a while, and their admiration for Yi Xian had reached its peak. Ying Bai's heart was churning at this moment. The shock he experienced today is something he will probably never forget for the rest of his life. As a member of one of the 8 major families in China, even if he is a side branch, he is proud. But in this half day, he felt for the first time that his pride was shattered by the stone thrown out by Yi Xian's kick. It was so powerful, indescribably powerful, as if a pair of strong iron hands were tightly strangling his throat.
For a moment, he felt like he couldn't breathe.
At this moment, thinking of the legend again, Ying Bai no longer had any doubts in his heart. This legend was not exaggerated at all, and it could not even fully demonstrate Yi Xian's full strength.
P.S. Everyone, my new book The Super Rich, The School Beauty Exposed My House That Was Automatically Upgraded has been published, under the new author account 111. Introduction, City plus System plus Super Rich. Chen Tian, whose parents died and left him with only a small shabby house, thought he would be single for the rest of his life. But it opens the God-level upgraded home door system. Your house feels so small and inferior, so it is automatically upgraded to a villa. Your garage feels that placing an e-scooter is not suitable for its style, so you are working hard to expand it and offer a Ferrari supercar and the driving skills of an experienced driver. Your mirror feels that the owner's appearance is not good enough to be reflected by it, so it will improve the host's appearance to 99 points. The transformation will be completed within a year. A few years later, Chen Tian looked at the Ying Ying and Yen Yen next to him and felt that this house seemed a little small. Anyone who is interested can go and have a look. Chapter 131 I Have a Plan. On this side, just as Yi Xian was being taken by Zhang Qingtian to continue strolling around the southeast military headquarters. In the villa, Zhang Yuyan was petting a cat with a few little girls. She looked seriously at Wang Xinyao beside her and couldn't help but ask her for advice. Xinyao, I want to ask you something. How on earth did you find such a good husband? Wang Xinyao leaned on the sofa with a charming smile on her lips. When she heard this question, her eyes trembled slightly and she said with a smile. Well, I said it was all luck, do you believe it? When Zhang Yuyan heard this answer, she suddenly fell silent, but she was shouting in her heart. Versailles, this is absolutely Versailles. After a moment of silence, Zhang Yuyan stuck out her tongue helplessly at Wang Xinyao. Come on, if you don't want to teach me, forget it. Or you can ask your husband to introduce me to someone. Ah, this. Wang Xinyao was suddenly speechless and said to Zhang Yuyan in a bad mood. Hey Yuyan, how much do you miss a man? Oh, I just said it casually. Zhang Yuyan immediately uttered a coquettish cry and rolled her eyes at Wang Xinyao. Then she received a message and casually checked her phone. Hey, Xinyao, there seems to be an ancient-style exhibition here. We can go there wearing hanfu. After saying that, Zhang Yuyan looked at the little girls who were still petting the cats without waiting for Wang Xinyao to answer. Girls, this is an ancient-style exhibition. You can wear very beautiful hanfu. Do you want to go? We want to go. When the little girls heard that they could wear beautiful clothes, they immediately became excited and nodded heavily. Okay, then we'll settle it. Wang Xinyao smiled as she saw that Zhang Yuyan and the little ones were all interested, and then she settled down. After a while, Yi Xian also returned to the villa. When the girls saw their father coming, they immediately ran over and hugged him tightly. Dad, you're finally back. We missed you so much. Seeing this, Zhang Yuyan quickly stood up, looked at Yi Xian and greeted him. Mr. Yi, you're back. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Yuyan, was stunned at first,
then said with a smile. "We are all friends, no need to be so polite." Zhang Yuyan nodded, but still seemed a little reserved. Afterwards, a few little girls pulled Yi Xian aside and talked about the ancient style exhibition. They blinked their big watery eyes and looked at Yi Xian and said, "Dad, let's go buy some nice clothes tomorrow." "Okay." Yi Xian agreed with a smile, then thought about it and made a plan in his mind. At the villa, Zhang Yuyan was sitting and chatting with Wang Xinyao when she suddenly received a call from Zhao Lin. "Xinyao, excuse me for a moment." Zhang Yuyan smiled apologetically at Wang Xinyao, then walked to the balcony with her cell phone. "Yuyan, where are you now?" After the call was connected, Zhao Lin's voice was heard from the other end of the line. "It's Sister Lin, I'm at Mr. Ye's villa now." "What?" Suddenly, Zhao Lin heard that Zhang Yuyan was actually here with Yi Longjiang, and she cried out in surprise, and immediately fell silent. After a while, Zhang Yuyan walked towards Yi Xian with the phone in her hand, smiling, and spoke politely. "Mr. Yi, Mr. Zhao Dezheng wants to invite you to the Zhao family, saying that this is a family dinner and no outsiders are allowed. By the way, he also said he would pick you up later, what do you think?" Yi Xian picked up the teacup and took a sip, then shook his head gently and said calmly, "Need not." After hearing this, Zhao Lin and Zhao Dezheng, who were listening on speakerphone at the other end of the phone, both looked lonely and inevitably felt a little lost. But they soon came to their senses. After all, given Yilong's status, how could they be noticed by others? "How about this, you ask Zhao Dezheng to give me their current address, and we can go there ourselves later." Looking at Zhang Yuyan's embarrassed expression, Yi Xian shook his head, smiled, and added another sentence. Then, Yi Xian looked at the little guys beside him and smiled indulgently. "Girls, let's go out for lunch at noon, okay?" "Good." When the little guys heard about going out for a free meal, they smiled sweetly and jumped around. They looked cute and lively, and were very lovable. Seeing this scene, Zhang Yuyan next to him also smiled. After all, this can't be considered as a free meal. Moreover, it is simply a fantasy for ordinary families to invite General Yilong to dinner. The Zhao family is able to invite him, so they must be secretly happy now. At this time, on the other side, in the Zhao family's villa in Linhai City, old man Zhao Dezheng was overjoyed. He simply couldn't believe that this was true. General Yilong, who was a high-ranking official, actually accepted his invitation. Before, he just wanted to give it a try, but he didn't expect it to come true. After hanging up the phone, Zhao Dezheng waved eagerly and called Zhao Lin over. "Lin, please send the address to General Yilong." "Hurry." "Good." Zhao Lin smiled and nodded, but then her smile froze. Zhao Dezheng was originally sitting and drinking tea, but at this moment he suddenly stood up. He just picked up the tea and took a big gulp, then walked outside in a hurry, muttering to himself. "Yilong is coming, I have to go out to greet him." Zhao Lin, who was holding a mobile phone at the side, felt helpless when she saw this. She had grown up but had never seen her grandfather like this. In her impression, her grandfather has always been a man who remains calm even when faced with a catastrophe, with thunder in his chest but a calm face. He has always been extremely steady and she has never seen him so excited. "Oh, that's not necessary." Zhao Lin smiled bitterly and shook her head. Without wasting any more time, she quickly sent the address and followed him out of the villa. As soon as he came out, Zhao Lin saw Zhao Dezheng hunched over, but still standing at the door solemnly and respectfully. "Grandpa, General Yilong and his men may not have set out yet. Why are you in such a hurry?" As she spoke, Zhao Lin couldn't help but use her hands to block the sun above her head and spoke with a pursed mouth. "Besides, Grandpa, it's very sunny outside now." Upon hearing this, Zhao Dezheng glared at Zhao Lin with disappointment and coughed in annoyance. "Ahem. What do you know? This is the most basic etiquette. I won't say any more to you. Come here and stand here, waiting with Grandpa." "Oh, okay." Seeing the old man's firm attitude, Zhao Lin was helpless, but still stood over obediently. Not long after, Yi Xian and others arrived at the door of Zhao's villa. Zhao Dezheng was so excited that his whole body was shaking, and he hurried to greet him. "General Yilong, I'm so sorry for not welcoming you here. It's great that you can come." At this time, Zhao Lin walked up to Zhang Yuyan and Wang Xinyao with a smile on her face and greeted them with a smile. "Yuyan, Xinyao, hello. Well, and you cute little girls." As she spoke, Zhao Lin squatted down and gently pinched the little girls' faces. "General Yilong, let's all go in." Zhao Dezheng smiled flatteringly and bowed to invite everyone into the villa. "Good." Yi Xian nodded and turned to look at the maids and Wang Xinyao.
Xinyao, girls, let's go in. Yeah. Dad, wait for me.
Several little guys rushed forward in a swarm, muttering to themselves.
Yeah. Let's go and have a free meal.
Seeing the looks of the little girls, everyone fell silent. Wang Xinyao suppressed her smile, poked Yi Xian beside her, and spoke in a low voice.
See, I've taught you a bad lesson. Don't talk nonsense anymore.
Yi Xian also smiled awkwardly. It seemed that this was indeed what he taught.
Chapter 132. What kind of writing power is this? Afterwards, everyone walked into the villa without wasting time, chatting and laughing. The Zhao family's villa is a typical Chinese-style villa. After walking through the gate, there is a huge courtyard.
Looking around, the yard is filled with ponds, rockery, courtyards, gardens, and flowers and plants. Walking along the quiet path in front of them through the yard, everyone stepped over a stone bridge made of bluestone slabs, and then they saw the main view of the villa. Not bad, this traditional Chinese courtyard of Patriarch Zhao has a unique charm. Yi Xian squinted his eyes and smiled, then glanced at Zhao Dezheng beside him.
General Yi Long likes it.
I'm also not used to living in those European and Western-style villas.
Yeah, that's good.
Yi Xian nodded, and everyone walked into the villa while chatting and laughing.
The decoration inside the villa is quiet and elegant.
The tables and chairs are all made of mahogany, and there are many carefully framed calligraphy and paintings on the walls. After Zhao Dezheng came in, he hurried to make tea. This time he did not dare to be negligent at all and took out his best and most premium tea. This tea is his own, but he is reluctant to take it out to drink. But at this time, Zhao Dezheng did not feel any pity, but was even more worried that Yi Long would not be satisfied with the tea leaves. After all, this is not an ordinary guest to be entertained, but General Yi Xian Yi Long, so he definitely cannot be treated casually. Yi Xian looked around, then smiled and said to Zhao Dezheng.
It seems that Patriarchy is also a person who loves calligraphy and painting.
As he spoke, Yi Xian narrowed his eyes slightly, saw the words on the other side, and couldn't help but smack his lips.
Isn't this Zhu Yu's authentic work? It's not easy to get it. Dad, who is this?
Yi Jing, who was standing next to him, listened to Yi Xian's words and asked softly. Zhu Yu, this is a calligrapher from 1,000 years ago. Although he was born in poverty and suffered from war, he still studied hard and wanted to pass the imperial examinations.
Unfortunately, the situation was uncertain. Zhu Yu encountered bandits while rushing to take the exam. He lost his money and missed the election. He became disheartened and became a monk in a temple not far away.
Afterwards, he replaced his study of poetry with chanting Buddhist scriptures, but he fell in love with writing and became a calligrapher of some repute. But Zhu Yu lived in the temple and rarely went out. Even when invited by scholars, he never showed up. If it weren't for the pilgrims in the temple who saw him by chance, no one would know that there is such a person in the world. But Zhu Yu's calligraphy is also unique. It's just that it was not very well known at the time, so even now, few people know this name. The most dramatic thing is that in Zhu Yu's later years, the temple was hit by a fire, and many of Zhu Yu's calligraphy works were lost. In addition, the turbulent years at that time meant that very few of his authentic works could survive to the present day. Master Zhao, it's not easy for you to get his original work. Yi Xian looked at the characters, as if he could see Zhu Yu's lifelong helplessness, all reflected in every stroke of the characters. While expressing his emotion, Yi Xian couldn't help but say a few more words. But it's better not to say this, because once it is said, it will be a sensation. Zhao Dezheng was stunned at this moment, and his eyes were full of admiration when he looked at Yi Xian.
General Yi Long, you are truly knowledgeable.
After a moment of silence, Zhao Dezheng's mouth twitched and he suddenly exclaimed. Then he walked to Yi Xian's side, took a deep breath, and continued.
General Yi Long, you are simply amazing.
My friends who know calligraphy can't even tell the name of this calligraphy. They don't even look at it, but go to look at other calligraphy works. Alas, little did I know that the most precious thing here is actually the one that Yi Long mentioned to you. After that, Zhao Lin, Zhang Yuyan, Wang Xinyao and others who were standing by were extremely shocked and were stunned. Especially Zhao Lin and Zhang Yuyan, they stared at each other with their mouths wide open. They thought Yi Xian was not like this. Yi Xian was a soldier, so he should be a rough guy. However, no one expected that Yi Xian actually had such research in calligraphy. Moreover, being able to recognize such an unpopular calligraphy in an instant, what kind of experience and knowledge does this require? Oh my god, it sounds like General Yi Long is a Confucian general. He actually has such a lot of knowledge. Yes, it seems that General Yi Long's research on calligraphy and painting is not shallow at all. Zhao Lin and Zhang Yuyan couldn't help but discuss in a low voice at this time. Yuyan, you don't know, just for that calligraphy, my grandfather invited a great calligrapher to come to our house to exchange ideas, but even that learned old man couldn't recognize it. Zhao Lin thought of what happened before, and there was unconcealable surprise in her eyes. When Zhang Yuyan heard this, she couldn't help but cover her mouth. Oh my god, if you say so, General Yi Long's understanding of calligraphy and painting may have reached a level that we cannot imagine. A few little girls standing nearby also heard the two people's whispered discussions. They giggled and looked up at Zhang Yuyan and Zhao Lin and said, Aunt Yuyan, Aunt Zhao Lin, our dad is really good at handwriting. Yi Jing was the most excited at this moment, because she was the first person to see her father write with her own eyes. Aunt Yuyan, my father's handwriting is very beautiful, and he even gave Jingjing a piece of calligraphy. Zhao Lin saw the excited looks of the little girls, smiled sweetly, picked up Yi Jing, and said to Yi Jing in her arms, Little girl, you don't know that there is a huge difference between understanding and being able to write. But your father is well informed and can definitely write well. As soon as these words were spoken, all the discerning people around could see that this was a deliberate compliment, and they smiled in agreement. But these little guys didn't hear it and continued talking. Yes. Our dad's handwriting is the most beautiful in the world. Hey, dad's handwriting is invincible. The little girl Yi Jing now put her hands on her hips, grinned smugly, and spoke in a baby voice. Even the principal wants to snatch my father's calligraphy from me. Everyone looked at the cute little girls, smiled, and didn't think much about it. After all, in the eyes of children, their father is a Superman, so it is not too surprising that they would have such a reaction. Zhao Dejing was even more delighted and quickly spoke to Yi Xian respectfully. General Yi Long likes calligraphy? Great. Why don't we go upstairs and have some discussion? Taking this opportunity, Zhao Dejing immediately extended an invitation. After all, they finally found a common topic. Well, I know a little bit, but I can't say I have any accomplishments. Yi Xian nodded indifferently, then followed Zhao Dejing upstairs. The others also wanted to see how good Yi Xian's calligraphy had reached, so they all followed suit. Wang Xinyao was even more curious. After all, she had not had the chance to see Yi Xian's handwriting, so she didn't know what level it had reached. Afterwards, everyone quickly went to the study upstairs, which was where Zhao Dejing always liked to stay. The study is very large, occupying a small half of the space on the second floor. In addition to the sandalwood bookshelves filled with ancient books and family trees, there is also a heavy mahogany desk in the middle. On the desk, rice paper was neatly spread out, and pens, ink, paper and inkstone were all available. The surrounding walls were covered with calligraphy and paintings. There was sandalwood burning in the incense burner. As soon as they entered the study, they smelled a faint fragrance and immediately felt their ears and eyes cleared. After entering the study, everyone walked to the desk. Zhao Dejing picked up a pen, looked at Yi Xian and said with a smile, General Yi Long, how about I write one first and show it to you guys? Yeah. That's fine. Yi Xian smiled and nodded. The others were also looking forward to it. A few little girls pouted in dissatisfaction. In their eyes, no one's handwriting could be as good as Yi Xian's. At this time, Zhao Dejing picked up the pen, dipped it in ink skillfully, and wrote his own work on the rice paper. Zhao Dejing's handwriting is magnificent, powerful, solemn and majestic. One can tell at first glance that he has practiced for many years. Every stroke of the pen, every turn, is full of ink and is full of passion. Wow! Grandpa Zhao's handwriting is so good. Zhang Yuyan exclaimed immediately. He had heard Zhao Lin say before that Mr. Zhao Dejing was good at calligraphy, and now seeing that he really had quite a lot of skills. It's really beautiful. Patriarch Zhao's handwriting is really charming. When Wang Xinyao saw this handwriting, she nodded continuously. Although she had never seen Yi Xian's handwriting, she could tell that Zhao Dejing's handwriting was really good. This grandpa's handwriting is also very beautiful. Even a few little girls couldn't help but praise and give thumbs up when they saw the words written by Zhao Dejing. But even though they said this, they still put Yi Xian's words first in their hearts. Even Yi Xian nodded slightly when he looked at the handwriting of Zhao Dejing. Afterwards, with the crowd watching, Zhao Dejing completed his work in one go very quickly. Crash! Immediately, Zhang Yuyan and several other girls and little girls applauded and followed suit to praise. Everyone, I'm really embarrassing myself. Zhao Dejing smiled modestly, then looked at Yi Xian and said respectfully.
General Yi Long, how about you also do a painting? Good.
Yi Xian nodded indifferently and agreed immediately.
Grandpa, you are bullying me a little bit. You have been practicing calligraphy for 20 to 30 years. How old is Yi Longjiang?
Seeing this scene, Zhao Lin said with a bit of a laugh. But before Yi Xian and Zhao Dezheng could say anything, a few little girls nearby came over. A few little girls looked at Zhao Dezheng's handwriting and spoke innocently.
Grandpa, even though your handwriting is beautiful, it's not as beautiful as our dad's. Ah, this.
For a moment, Zhao Lin was choked by this sentence. It seems that Yi Xian's status in the hearts of these children is quite high. Of course, although these girls said this, they did not believe that their grandfather, who had practiced calligraphy for 20 or 30 years, could not compare to Yi Xian. After all, to be able to hold such a high position today, Yi Long must have served in the army for many years, and now he looks to be only in his 20s.
Even if Yi Xian is a genius among geniuses, there is no comparison between the two. It's okay, just write whatever you want.
Seeing this, Yi Xian smiled slightly, then picked up the pen, walked to the desk, and began to write Wang Wei's Song of the Old General. When he was 15 or 20 years old, he would ride on a hu horse on foot. To shoot and kill the white-browed tiger in Zhongshan, one must count the yellow-bearded boy in Yexia. He fought in battles across 3,000 miles and his sword was once worth 1,000,000 soldiers. The Han soldiers were as swift as thunderbolts, and the enemy cavalry were afraid of the caltrops.
Chapter 133 Beautiful Jade.
Seeing this, everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Xian, but after a few seconds, everyone was stunned. Yi Xian's strokes were like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, riding on the clouds and mist, leaving the dust far behind, with a wild and surging momentum. But when I looked again, it was like a real dragon with golden scales and 5 claws, exuding the aura of an emperor from beginning to end. As it tumbled, the whole world was shaking. This almost endless flow of vitality is not only impacting the torrent of history, but also impacting the hearts of everyone present. The words written by Yi Xian are so smooth and flowing that they seem like the graceful dance of a silver snake. The grace of the brush, the boldness of the strokes, the style of Manqing, the muscles of Yan and Lu, are simply unable to describe the shocking power presented before everyone's eyes. With every turn and every stroke, the strokes are so powerful that they can be described as moving like a dragon and snake, and the force can be felt through the paper. The artistic conception here has both the perfection of the first writing of Huangting and the power of penetrating into the wood. Yi Xian's entire state at this moment was even more elegant and free, as if he was traveling on the top of the sky, free and unrestrained, enjoying himself between heaven and earth. In an instant, everyone seemed to see a murderous atmosphere, as if a picture of golden swords and iron horses appeared before everyone's eyes. At this moment, everyone in the room was stunned, their expressions were completely frozen, with only their eyes trembling violently. In the silent room, the only sound that could be heard was Yi Xian's calligraphy and the faint sound of other people's intense heartbeats. When Yi Xian finished writing, a picture of fighting on the battlefield emerged. In an instant, everyone seemed to see the fighting of thousands of troops, the sound of drums, weapons, and howling as they rushed to the battlefield. Afterwards, there were mountains of corpses and blood. The ground was covered with corpses piled up like a mountain. The armor was rusted and mottled. It seemed as if the sky and the earth were stained with blood. The killing was so fierce that it was dark and chaotic. And at the moment when Yi Xian finished writing, this picture appeared in front of everyone like a kaleidoscope. Each of them seemed to have experienced a fight personally. Suddenly, everyone's face turned extremely pale. This dreamlike scene scared them to death. Everyone was stunned at this moment. Zhao Dezheng was even scared to the point of breaking out in a cold sweat. The whole place was silent. At this moment, he had begun to doubt his life. He had been passionate about calligraphy for the past few decades, but compared with Yi Xian, he was just a grain of sand, while Yi Xian was a star.
Good handwriting. Good handwriting. At this moment, Zhao Dezheng could no longer suppress his inner excitement.
He shouted loudly and danced with excitement. I have never seen such beautiful calligraphy. It is simply a masterpiece from the gods. With just a few strokes of the pen, the way Zhao Dezheng looked at Yi Xian had changed from his previous respect and admiration to full of admiration at this moment.
General Yi Long, how did you do that? It's amazing.
Zhao Lin was also stunned at this time. This kind of murderous aura, perhaps in this world, only a dragon general like Yi Xian could write it. At that moment just now, she almost felt as if she was on a battlefield with thousands of troops. The emptiness and trembling came from the bottom of her heart and were extremely real.
Wang Xinyo and Zhang Yuyan were also stunned and frightened by the scene. not to mention Zhang Yuyan, especially Wang Xinyao. Her eyes widened at this moment, staring at Yi Xian infatuatedly. Just now she was still thinking in her heart that Yi Xian could only be a calligraphy enthusiast at most. After all, her cheap husband knew too many things, and it was impossible for him to reach the level of perfection in calligraphy. But now that she looked at it, she knew that she was wrong, completely wrong. Yi Xian's calligraphy has not only reached the level of mastery and perfection, but has also transcended the world and is separate from the past and present. Zhao Dezheng was extremely excited now. He stared at Yi Xian infatuatedly, with the corners of his mouth trembling. After thinking for a long time, he could not wait to speak. General Yilong, I don't know if you can sell this painting to me. I want to keep it as a treasure. I'm willing to pay 10 million. Then, Zhao Dezheng quoted an astronomical figure, but soon changed his mind, thinking that the price he offered was too low. No. General Yilong, I'll give you 50 million. As long as you're willing to sell it to me, you can name any price you want. At this moment, Zhao Dezheng's eyes widened as he looked at these words. This really opened the eyes of an old guy who thought he had seen a lot of the world. If you like it, just keep it. It's not worth much. Faced with the sky-high price offered by Zhao Dezheng, Yi Xian waved his hand indifferently. General Yilong, you are too modest. Zhao Dezheng was delighted when he heard this, and at the same time he knew in his heart that this calligraphy was the best he had ever seen. You have to know that before this, he had actually seen many authentic works of great masters, such as Tang Bohu and Wang Shiji. He had seen them all. But compared with Wang Wei's Song of the Old General that Yi Xian just wrote, although it is not as dull as those original works of the masters, it always feels that there is still some distance. By the way, General Yilong, do you have a seal here? Can you stamp it on me? Yi Xian looked at Zhao Dezheng's fiery gaze and shook his head slightly. No. His seal is now sealed in the Southwest Military Headquarters. As for the seal for writing and painting, he actually doesn't have it. General Yilong, how about this? I'll give you a call after I come back. Zhao Dezheng said solemnly, but Yi Xian waved his hand. It's okay, this is too much trouble. Although Yi Xian rejected Zhao Dezheng's kindness, Zhao Dezheng still kept this matter in mind. General Yilong, I happen to have a few pieces of good jade here, would you like to take a look? Hearing what Zhao Dezheng said, Yi Xian was stunned for a moment, then looked at Zhao Dezheng and said, Do you have any good jade? I just might need it. Here, Yilong, do you want it? Zhao Dezheng scratched his head, a little confused. Well, it's like this, these little guys want to participate in the ancient style exhibition, and I want to carve some hairpins for them. Ah. Dad, is this true? At this time, several girls became excited and threw themselves into Yi Xian's arms, staring at him with their big watery eyes. Really, Dad has already thought about it. Every one of you will have a share. Yeah. Thanks, Dad. Yeah. Daddy is the best. Dad, I love you. Suddenly, the little girls were extremely happy and hugged Yi Xian tightly, looking forward to the hairpins that Yi Xian would carve for them. Zhao Dezheng was also stunned, then he smiled, quickly got up to get it, and soon brought back a few pieces of good jade. Yi Xian looked at the pieces of jade in front of him, stroked them gently, and nodded with satisfaction. General Yilong, do you want me to find someone to make it for you? Hearing that they wanted to carve hairpins for a few little girls, Zhao Dezheng asked with concern. No, I can do this myself. Yi Xian shook his head and politely declined Zhao Dezheng's kindness. Zhao Dezheng thought that Yi Xian was going to find someone to make them, so he didn't say anything more and handed the pieces of jade to Yi Xian. Chapter 134 Dad, love will disappear, right? Then, Zhao Dezheng poured tea for Yi Xian, and then carefully sat beside Yi Xian and chatted with him. After chatting for a while, the chef in Zhao Dezheng's villa had prepared the meal and everyone moved to the dining room. The little girls were very excited and kept asking for more food, which made everyone laugh. General Yilong, I offer you a toast. As the glasses were clinking, Zhao Dezheng stood up with his glass in hand and looked at Yi Xian in front of him respectfully. At this moment, his feelings towards Yi Xian were not just respect for his status and identity, but also admiration from the bottom of his heart. Seeing this, although Yi Xian did not stand up, he still raised his glass and took a few sips. But Zhao Dezheng raised his head and drank the wine in the glass without leaving a drop. These are the most basic etiquette. After that, Zhao Dezheng toasted Yi Xian from time to time and talked about many topics. When talking about the development and economic trends of the Magic City and even the entire China, Zhao Dezheng raised his glass again and toasted Yi Xian. Alas, the era we live in now, the economic landscape changes too fast.
Sometimes opportunities are fleeting, and sometimes there are unprovoked crises and disasters. I have been doing business in Shanghai for many years, but now I am an old man. I don't even dare to say that I have a smattering of knowledge about the development and economic trends of Shanghai and China. General Yi Long, I wonder what you think about this issue. Yi Xian smiled when he heard this, and said calmly to Zhao Dezheng, Master Zhao, there's no need to be so modest. You've been in the Magic City for so many years, so you should at least see things more clearly than most people. From my point of view, the Magic City is an economic lifeline of China. The development of the Magic City actually reflects the development of China, doesn't it? But when it comes to the development trend of the economy, we can't generalize. I personally think that the current development trend is at a cusp and in a state of change. Zhao Dezheng was just chatting casually, but when he heard this, he couldn't help but frown and looked at Yi Xian seriously. General Yi Long, what you mean is the current economic trend going to be towards new industries or towards technology? Well, although it includes what you said, it is more than just that. Yi Xian shook his head gently, sipping his wine while speaking. The current economic development trend has entered a normalized situation, which has also led to the gradual emergence of a personalized and diversified industrial ecology. Although traditional industries are gradually becoming saturated, emerging industries are also emerging like bamboo shoots springing up from the ground. I think if we want to seize opportunities in the current situation, we must first develop towards quality and intelligence. The transformation and upgrading of the industry is very important. For example, when a mine is running out of capacity, should we continue to dig deeper? Or should we use the assets accumulated in the early stage to open new mines, or get involved in other new industries? I believe that Patriarch Zhao should be clear about this issue. With abundant resources, we can often do a lot of things. Having said this, Yi Xian didn't say much, but who is Zhao Dezheng? He has been in business for many years and is a real old fox. So even though he hadn't finished speaking, he already fully understood what Yi Xian meant. Yi Xian's words were so shocking that Zhao Dezheng was completely stunned. Before this, he had never dared to think about it, let alone do it. The reason behind this is very simple. Sometimes the higher you stand, the more afraid you are of falling. But in recent years, he has also vaguely felt that the entire market and economy seem to be changing in a different direction. Although the industries under him have not yet reached negative returns, the continuous decline in percentage points is already a special signal, which indicates that some meals cannot be eaten for a lifetime. So Yi Xian's words just now suddenly made him see some new directions, some directions that he didn't even dare to think about before. These directions are all filled with hidden gold and wealth, but also many hidden risks. Having been in business for countless years, he knows this. Sometimes it is a bidding, sometimes it is a game, both can change many things. Profits are always accompanied by risks, and those who dare to be the first to try something new, even if they don't get much benefit, have a slight advantage over others. Besides, Yi Xian's words have already pointed out a general direction. If he can't even understand this, then his decades of business life would have been in vain. General Yi Long, I am convinced. Listening to your words is worth 10 years of study. After a brief silence, Zhao Dezheng raised his wineglass and bowed deeply to Yi Xian. This time, he was really convinced, completely convinced. Yi Xian had already brought him many surprises. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed that there was such a god in the world. In just a few sentences, he explained the current economic trends and also hinted at the future development path. The thoroughness of the perspective and the long-term vision made him admire him so much. Even Zhang Yuyan and Zhao Lin were learning a lot at this time, and their eyes changed again when they looked at Yi Xian. In such a short day, they have experienced too many surprises, all of which were brought by Yi Xian. They simply couldn't understand how a dragon general like Yi Xian could know so much. Not only is calligraphy so divine, but it can also have such insights into today's economic trends. What kind of knowledge is required to be able to do this? At this time, not only Zhang Yuyan and Zhao Lin, but also Wang Xinyao was stunned. My husband can fight in battles, cook, develop fighter planes, write calligraphy, and study economics. Is there anything he can't do? Zhao Dezheng is the one who knows the economic development trends and business landscape best among all the people present, except Yi Xian. As the saying goes, laymen watch the excitement while experts see the details. It is now difficult for Zhao Dezheng to describe the horror in his heart with words. What is an expert? This is what an expert is. Besides being surprised, Zhao Dezheng had a terrifying idea in his mind. If a person like Yi Xian was fully involved in business, what a terrifying existence that would be. In addition to possessing such soft power, he also possesses solid financial resources and extensive network of contacts. Thinking of this, Zhao Dezheng's pupils suddenly contracted, and he didn't know what scene he imagined. After finishing their meal, Yi Xian and the others didn't plan to stay any longer and decided to pack up and leave. But Zhao Dezheng suddenly remembered something and looked towards Yi Xian. "By the way, General Yi Long, are you going to live in Linhai City permanently?" "No, we will return to Jiling in a few days." Hearing Yi Xian's answer, Zhao Dezheng nodded slightly and didn't say anything more. Afterwards, Yi Xian and his family got up and left. Zhao Dezheng saw them off with a respectful look on his face, and only stopped after he had sent Yi Xian and his family to the car and watched Hongqi leave. After returning home, Yi Xian sat on the sofa and took out a few pieces of beautiful jade that he had just got from Zhao Dezheng. "Dad, this jade is so beautiful. It looks crystal clear, just like jelly." Yi Shi leaned on Yi Xian's back and said with a silly pout. "Ah, silly girl, if this is jelly, how hard would your teeth need to be able to bite it?" "Yeah, it seems so." As they were talking, a few little girls came over and admired the beautiful jades, also praising them repeatedly. "Wow! This jade is so beautiful. Dad, how can I turn this beautiful stone into a beautiful jade hairpin? Hee. I'm really looking forward to it." After that, Wang Xinmiao also came over, looked at Yi Xian looking at these beautiful jades, and sat down beside Yi Xian with a smile. "Do we need to find a place to carve this?" Yi Xian shook his head when he heard that, and said with a smile while stroking the beautiful jade in his hand. "No, I can do it myself." "This." For a moment, Wang Xinmiao felt that she might have heard it wrongly. Yi Xian actually chose to carve it himself. Is this possible? Carving is very difficult. Wang Xinmiao couldn't help but feel a little worried, but then she changed her mind and had another terrifying idea. Could it be that Yi Xian also has a high level of attainment in handicrafts like carving? But even if it is Superman, it is impossible to cover everything so comprehensively. "Xinmiao, don't worry, you will know soon." Yi Xian smiled mysteriously at Wang Xinmiao, as if he was still waiting for something. After all, he had signed up for god-level carving technology before, but he had never used it. "Brother Yi, I'm back." After waiting for a while, Tang Hao walked in with an exquisite black suitcase in his hand. "Well, that is great." Yi Xian nodded with satisfaction, stood up and took the suitcase. "What is this?" Wang Xinmiao looked at the suitcase in confusion, not knowing what was inside. "Xinmiao, these are the carving tools I asked Tang Hao to buy for me." As Yi Xian spoke, he opened the suitcase and checked whether some necessary tools were complete. "All right." Wang Xinmiao nodded with a wry smile, but she was also ready to see what level Yi Xian's carving skills had reached. Yi Xian sat down, took out one of the beautiful jades, took out a black oil pen, and first simply designed the general shape of a jade hairpin on it. "Dad, what are you doing?" The little girls were a little confused. Why did they have to draw with a black oil pen before carving? Well, this step is called rough drawing. It is to draw the general shape so that Dad can do other work later. When the little ones heard Yi Xian's explanation, they nodded in unison. Although they still didn't quite understand, they were full of anticipation. Then, Yi Xian took out the cutting tools from the black briefcase, dug out the surface skin, and cut according to the design outline. Yi Xian's hands were extremely steady, and the cutting process was smooth, and soon a rough shape was formed. Then, Yi Xian cut off the remaining scraps, and the shape of the hasta became more and more obvious. Because the pieces of jade given by Zhao Dezheng were all rare and beautiful jades, there were almost no flaws or dirt, and no impurities or sand or gravel. Soon, a piece of jade hairpin embryo with a rudimentary shape was obtained. Wow! Dad is so awesome! The little guys were watching from the side, their eyes widened as Yi Xian cut a whole piece of jade into the shape in no time. Wang Xinmiao was also a little restless. Judging from what she had seen just now, Yi Xian's attainments in carving were quite profound. Looking at the jade hairpin that took shape so quickly, Wang Xinmiao couldn't help but shake her head. This is simply a super dad. Is this just as many people say, that men become different after they become fathers? But it would be fine if he could just cook, take care of kids, but his abilities are too broad and too outrageous. Don't worry, we have just completed the first step. It's just a prototype. Now Dad still needs to add a few more details to the lily. Yi Xian smiled at the girls, then took out a carving knife and a punch from the toolbox and began to carve carefully. The carving knife in Yi Xian's hand was like a precise scalpel in a doctor's hand, flying all over the raw material of the lily of the valley, sometimes so powerful that it penetrated the back of the paper, and sometimes so delicate and meticulous. Rustle, rustle. The carving knife made a rustling sound on the surface of the hairpin, and as the debris fell, the details of the hairpin were slowly revealed. At this moment, Yi Xian's eyes were sharp as he stared intently at every wrinkle and scratch on the jade hairpin, slowly carving out the pattern and shape. Soon, a phoenix appeared on the jade hairpin. The phoenix had an elegant posture and gorgeous feathers, and there were countless birds around it. It was a scene of hundreds of birds paying homage to the phoenix. What was originally an ordinary jade hairpin has now become an extremely exquisite work of art, which is simply difficult to describe in words. If there was a carving master present at this moment, he would definitely have a heart attack from being scared. It's not because of anything else, it's just because Yi Xian's technique is so powerful that it's hard to describe. The feathers on this phoenix look as if they were real, so gorgeous and lush that they are almost indistinguishable from the real thing. The hundreds of birds around us may be small, but they have everything they need. Even with a magnifying glass, you can see every perfect detail. Well, that's it. At that moment, Yi Xian put down the carving knife, took out the polishing tools, and carried out the final processing of the jade hairpin. Wang Xinyo was standing aside, completely dumbfounded. She couldn't believe that this was a work that Yi Xian had completed in just a short moment. Fast. Accurate. Steady. This is Wang Xinyo's evaluation of Yi Xian's carving skills. In such a short period of time, he was able to design such a stunning work, which was ingenious and lifelike. After polishing, the jade hairpin exudes a warm luster, and the image of birds paying homage to the phoenix on it is meticulously detailed. No matter from which angle you look at it, it is a flawless masterpiece. It's so beautiful. The little ones blinked their big watery eyes and were full of love for the lily hairpin. Dad, I want this. Show me, Dad. Dad is really an omnipotent Superman. Several little girls have already started shouting at this time, and you can tell from their eyes that they love the jade hairpin. Then, Yi Xian carefully picked up the jade hairpin and looked at Wang Xinyao's face tenderly. With a swish, Wang Xinyao's cheeks turned red instantly, and Yi Xian picked up the jade hairpin and put it on Wang Xinyao's head himself. Does it look good? Wang Xinyao asked Yi Xian softly with a charming blush on her face. You look good in anything you wear. Yi Xian smiled and nodded, his eyes filled with tenderness like autumn water. Ah. Dad. How come love disappeared? Chapter 135 I want to have a daughter in the future. The little ones were quite looking forward to it, but they saw Yi Xian put the jade hairpin on Wang Xinyao's head. Dad, we want one too. Dad, you can't be partial. You promised us. Dad. At that moment, several little girls were unhappy. They gently pulled at the corner of Yi Xian's clothes and shouted in grievance. Okay, Dad will carve it for you right now. Yi Xian smiled dotingly and pinched the faces of the little girls. How could Daddy forget about my little darlings? Yeah. Daddy is the best. Upon hearing this, the girls smiled sweetly and nodded with satisfaction. Well, what pattern do you want? Tell Daddy. Anything is fine. Yi Xian picked up another piece of beautiful jade and asked the maids. Daddy, I want a bird like Mommy. Here, I want butterflies, pretty little butterflies. Dad, can you carve a cute little bunny? When the girls heard this, they immediately became excited and started to say what shapes they wanted. Okay. Dad got it. I'll start carving for you now. Afterwards, Yi Xian used these beautiful jades to carve 5 exquisite jade hairpins according to the requests of the little ones. Although these lily hairpins have different shapes, they all look equally exquisite and detailed. Yi Xian specially designed the pattern above to be a little cuter because it was worn by several little girls, and the little girls all liked it very much. Hee hee. Thank you, Dad. After a while, the little ones held the jade hairpins in their hands with great joy, and they couldn't let them go. Do you like it? Yi Xian rubbed the heads of the little ones and personally put jade hairpins on them one by one. Yes. We love it so much. The little ones were very satisfied with these jade hairpins. After Yi Xian put them on, they proudly took out a mirror and carefully admired themselves wearing the jade hairpins. You little girls are so conceited. Wang Xinyao, who was standing by, couldn't help laughing as she watched the little ones rushing to look at themselves in the mirror. It looks good, really good. Yi Xian squinted his eyes and looked at the little girls, then nodded with a smile. But there is still one thing we haven't done yet. When the little guys heard Yi Xian's words, their eyes rolled, then they slapped their heads and spoke in unison. Dad! We still have to go buy some nice clothes. My baby girls are so smart. Yi Xian kissed several girls on the face, then looked at Wang Xinyao. Pack up, let's go buy clothes. Good. Several little girls nodded heavily, but Yi Xia bit her fingers and looked at Yi Xian seriously. Dad, did you forget something? What's going on? Yi Xian smiled slightly and looked at Yi Xia curiously. Daddy kissed us just now, but he hasn't kissed Mommy yet. Hearing Yi Xia's innocent words, Wang Xinyao couldn't help but blushing and said to Yi Xia in a bad mood. Oh my, you are such a little devil. Wang Xinyao pouted, but still walked to Yi Xian, smiled, put her hands behind her back, and then closed her eyes. Yi Xian also smiled knowingly and kissed Wang Xinyao on the face. Call. The girls were breathing heavily, staring at this sweet scene with silly smiles on their faces. Mom and Dad, shame on you. Yi Xi covered her eyes and pouted her lips at this time, but still left a gap so that she could watch secretly. All right. Wang Xinyao opened her eyes, her face became even redder, and she looked at the maids with slightly frowned brows. Go change your shoes. What are you still looking at here? Ha ha ha. Mommy is shy. Amidst the light laughter, several maids ran to the side, first carefully put away the jade hairpin, then changed their shoes, and then walked out of the door hand in hand. Xinyao, let's go too. Yi Xian looked at the girls with a smile and took Wang Xinyao's hand. Wang Xinyao's voice was as soft as a mosquito's. She answered softly, and then the two of them followed the girls out. Not long after, Tang Hao drove and brought Yi Xian and others to a nearby shopping mall. The little ones were very excited and were looking for shops selling hanfu, as if they were treasure hunting. Dad, here. Here. Soon, Yi Xi, who was holding Yi Xian's hand, noticed an antique store at the corner. She pulled at the corner of Yi Xian's clothes and shouted excitedly. Well, let's go in and take a look. Good. Without further ado, the group quickly entered the store. This is a store that specializes in selling hanfu. Even the shopping guide inside is wearing a chest-length skirt and a wooden hairpin on her head. Welcome. Seeing Yi Xian and his group coming in, the shopping guide smiled politely and greeted them warmly. Sister, you are so beautiful. A few little girls looked at the beautiful shopping guide in front of them and said sweetly. Thank you, little sister. Seeing these cute little girls with such sweet mouths, the shopping guide smiled and asked softly. Little sister, are you here to buy hanfu? Aha! The little guys nodded, looked around, and frowned again. Sister, the clothes here are so big, is there nothing for us to wear? The shopping guide looked at the girls pouting and laughed, saying. Don't worry, little sisters. I have some hanfu that suits you. Come with me and have a look. Good. Upon hearing this, the little ones pulled Wang Xinyao and followed the shopping guide inside. Yi Xian also followed and walked over. Sure enough, there were hanfu prepared for little girls and boys, and there were complete styles. Wow! The little girls' eyes suddenly lit up, stars twinkling in their eyes, they were simply dazzled. This is so pretty. Yi Yun stood in front of a small floral dress, stroking it gently with her hands, and she was particularly fond of this one. Yeah, I like this one too. Afterwards, Yi Yun looked at the watermelon red skirt next to her and also liked it very much. Girls, pick whatever you like, anything is fine. Wang Xinyao smiled aside, thinking how adorable these little girls would look in hanfu. Okay, Mom. The little ones nodded slightly, then pouted their lips and began to choose carefully. Time passed minute by minute, and several little girls picked out their favorite styles. Accompanied by the shopping guide, they went to the fitting room to change into hanfu, and then jumped out. La 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 la. Dad, do you think we look good? Several little girls walked out hand in hand, all wearing their favorite hanfu, some with long sleeves and cloaks, some with skirts and long sleeves. But without exception, after these girls put on hanfu, they all have a special kind of cuteness and aura, as if they were elves walking out of a scroll. So beautiful. So cute. Yi Xian looked at the little girls lovingly, smiled and nodded. Hey, we thought so too. A few little girls chuckled and said proudly. Look how conceited you are. You girls. Wang Xinyao smiled bitterly and shook her head. She really had no way to deal with these girls. However, I have to say that after the girls put on hanfu, they were indeed cute, smart, well-behaved and lively, and had a light and airy feeling. She is like a petite and pretty lady under fireworks, or a young lady walking out of an ancient book. No matter who sees her, they will find her lovable. After admiring themselves in front of the fitting mirror, the girls went aside to discuss quietly for a while, and then all walked towards Yi Xian.
Dad, do you want to try it too?
Yi Jing giggled and turned around in front of Yi Xian. Dad, look how beautiful this hanfu is.
You will definitely look very handsome in it.
The other girls also gently tugged at Yi Xian's clothes, their watery eyes full of anticipation.
Yes, Dad, we all want to see what you look like in hanfu. Dad is the best.
We wear it, and Dad has to wear it too. I think my dad is so handsome and has such a great body, he is definitely better looking than a model. Yi Xian smiled bitterly and nodded. These girls were almost praising him to the sky.
Okay. Dad will change it right away. Yeah. Daddy is the best.
The girls immediately became excited and pulled Yi Xian to the men's clothing area to start choosing. In the end, Yi Xian chose a pure white shirt from the Song dynasty, paired with a black belt and a black official hat. Yi Xian walked into the fitting room to change clothes, but the little girls were not idle either. They also pulled Wang Xinyao to change into a pink skirt. Not long after, Yi Xian came out wearing a pure white shirt, and he was holding the hand of Wang Xinyao, who was wearing a pink skirt, and they walked out slowly. Yi Xian's shirt adds a lot of scholarly temperament to him, while the corset highlights Yi Xian's muscular figure, making him look elegant and heroic at the same time. And the black official hat highlights his maturity and sophistication. Coupled with Yi Xian's original handsomeness, at first glance, Yi Xian looks like a handsome young man who walked out of a book.
Look at Wang Xinyao next to her. Her skirt is brightly colored, graceful and elegant.
Wang Xinyao's stunning appearance, after wearing this skirt, has a more noble temperament and a hint of shy charm.
The pink dress sets off Wang Xinyao icy skin and graceful figure.
She is like a beautiful woman who suddenly looks back and is stunning, or like a princess living in an ancient city, looking forward to smiling.
Hey!
Mom and Dad look so great. Several girls looked at the handsome Yi Xian and the beautiful Wang Xinyao, and came over one after another, excitedly circling around the two of them. The shopping guide on the side had been paying attention to the scene and was also very surprised at this moment. You know, she has been working here for more than a while, but she has never seen anyone who can wear hanfu with such temperament. The previous customers either did not have the right body shape or did not match the temperament and charm of hanfu. They often looked out of place and somewhat weird. However, Yi Xian's family perfectly pulled off this outfit, leaving the shopping guide stunned. The other customers on the side also noticed Yi Xian and others at this time. They were all stunned with their eyes wide open.
Wow! Look over here! With an exclamation, everyone's eyes turned to Yi Xian.
People looked at these cute little girls, wearing well-fitting hanfu. They were beautiful and cute, and had a playful, lively, and light-hearted temperament. Yi Xian and Wang Xinyao also looked like a handsome man and a beautiful lady, a perfect match for the green leaves.
Ah! These little ones are so cute. I am amazed by them. Yes, this family is so good-looking. Of course not. Look at these two.
They are simply a perfect couple.
Gradually, everyone started talking about it, and later on, it was like a boiling pot of boiling water.
A girl wearing hanfu couldn't help but pout at this moment, looking at Wang Xinyao and Yi Xian, and said helplessly with her hands on her hips.
Alas, why do other people look so good in hanfu? I used to feel good about myself, but now I see that I can't be compared with others.
Hearing this, the other people around the girl nodded heavily, took a deep breath, and spoke slowly.
Alas! Maybe this is what is called temperament, something we don't have.
Really, I was stunned by these two people. They are just like the talented scholar and beautiful lady in the book.
It's amazing.
And those little girls are so cute. I decided that I must give birth to a girl in the future.
Chapter 136 Family Portrait.
As people were talking, the small hanfu shop, which originally had only a few people, suddenly had a lot of customers.
Most of them were attracted by Yi Xian and others.
Some of them were not interested in hanfu originally, but when they saw Yi Xian, Wang Xinyao and a few little girls, they immediately became interested in hanfu. The store manager nearby was also surprised when she saw this scene. She had never seen so many people in her store before. Yi Xian and his friends noticed that more and more customers were coming, so they didn't stay any longer and went back to the fitting room to change back into their previous clothes. After changing clothes, Yi Xian picked out some accessories for the little girls and Wang Xinyao, and after paying, he left them all. The next day, in the villa, Yi Xian and his group all changed into Hanfu and were preparing to head to the ancient exhibition. At this time, the little girls had not only changed their clothes, but Wang Xiniao also put some light makeup on them. Add to that the exquisite accessories on the maid's hands and clothes, and the jade hairpins carefully carved by Yi Xian in their hair, and these little girls can be described as delicate, generous, cute, and elegant. Yi Xian and Wang Xiniao also changed their clothes. One was handsome and the other was stunningly beautiful. Standing together, they were a perfect match, a true couple made in heaven. Okay, girls, it's time for us to get going. Yi Xian finally tidied up the clothes for the maids and spoke to them lovingly. Yeah. Dad, we can't wait. Yi Xia was already eager to try it this time. When he heard Yi Xian say that they could set off, he took Yi Shi and a few other girls and walked outside. Yi Xian took Wang Xiniao's hand and walked out as well. After everyone got on the bus, they soon arrived at the ancient-style exhibition. At this time, the exhibition site was already crowded with people, and there were still many men and women wearing hanfu outside, walking inside. Outside the exhibition, there were many merchants renting and selling hanfu, and many people were tempted to try them out and went to ask about the prices. After Yi Xian and others got off the car, they did not rush in, but waited for Zhang Yuyan in the square at the entrance. People were coming and going around, but all of them were attracted by Yi Xian and others. It can be said that among the crowd of people wearing hanfu around, Yi Xian and others are simply the most eye-catching scenery. There were also a few little girls who were pouting and looking around, searching for the shadow of their Aunt Yuyan. But this scene has melted the hearts of many passers-by. These girls are naturally beautiful and cute, and wearing Chinese traditional costumes, they are even more eye-catching and lovable. And when Yi Xian and Wang Xiniao stood together, many people stopped and looked at them. One of them is wearing a blue shirt, looking elegant and graceful, while the other is wearing a skirt, looking pretty and charming. Just at this moment, a group of female students wearing hanfu came over here. When they saw Yi Xian and others who were waiting for Zhang Yuyan, they were all stunned. Is this true? This is too good to be true. The leading female student, who was wearing a floral long skirt, exclaimed in disbelief when she saw Yi Xian and others. The other female students also noticed it at this time, their eyes widened, and they immediately became excited. Is there really anyone in this world who can wear hanfu to look like this? That man is so handsome, and the sister next to him is so beautiful. And those little girls, so cute. They're melting me. For a moment, these female students were all stunned. They are die-hard fans of hanfu and know more about it than most people. But it is precisely because of this that they are so surprised. Because from what they have seen and heard, no one has ever been able to wear hanfu like this. Yi Xian is so handsome, and he exudes the character of a scholar, and his sunny smile makes him look like a gentle and elegant young man. And there is Wang Xiniao, who is so beautiful that she looks like a fairy who is not of this world. Even several female students couldn't help but blush when they looked at Wang Xiniao. This is a charm that even they can't resist. In just a few minutes, a lot of people gathered around Yi Xian and others, and they were all deeply attracted by the family's appearance and looks. Oh my God! So handsome! So beautiful! This is exactly the white moonlight in my heart. This is the temperament. She looks natural in hanfu. This temperament is absolutely amazing. That's right. And these little girls are also very cute. At this time, people were talking about Yi Xian and others, with envy in their eyes. This is truly a family of great looks, and with the addition of Chinese traditional costumes, there is nothing more to say. Excuse me, can I take a photo with you? As they were talking, a little girl wearing hanfu came over and begged Yi Xian and others to take a photo with her. Okay. Yi Xian and Wang Xiniao smiled slightly and agreed in unison. Thank you so much. The girl was so excited at this moment that she gestured to another girl next to her. Then, a group photo was captured by the camera in the hand of another girl. Looking at the photo effect with lighting and color adjustment, both of them were stunned. Afterwards, many people came up to take photos, and Yi Xian and others soon became the biggest focus here. On the other side, Zhang Yuyan, wearing hanfu, walked towards the side. Beside her, Zhao Lin, who was also wearing hanfu, also came to the scene. Hey! Where are they? Zhang Yuyan frowned and looked for a long time, but couldn't see where Yi Xian and the others were. Yuyan, look, there are so many people in front of you. Zhao Lin pointed to the place where the crowd gathered in front and said curiously. Let's go over and take a look. Maybe Yi Long and the others are over there. All right.
Zhang Yuyan nodded helplessly, and the two of them walked over arm in arm. Following the gaps in the crowd, Zhang Yuyan and Zhao Lin had to work very hard to squeeze in. When they saw this, they both exclaimed, "Isn't this Yi Xian's family?" Looking at Yi Xian's appearance, Zhang Yuyan and Zhao Lin were stunned for a moment. He looked like a handsome man walking out of a painting. Standing next to such a figure, Wang Xinyo was simply a man as beautiful as jade and a young man unparalleled in the world. "Mr. Yi, Xinyo." Both of them were stunned for a moment before they reacted and waved at the few people. "You're here." Yi Xian looked at the two people coming over here and greeted them with a smile. "Ah, excuse me, we're late." Zhang Yuyan smiled embarrassedly, while Wang Xinyo smiled and shook her head. "It's okay, let's go in." Then, without any delay, everyone headed towards the ancient-style exhibition site in a mighty manner. Along the way, Zhao Lin and Zhang Yuyan noticed the jade hairpins on the heads of several little girls and Wang Xinyo. These hairpins were so exquisite and looked so soothing and nourishing that their eyes could not help but light up. "Hey, Xinyo, your jade hairpin is so beautiful." "Yes, Xinyo, who did you ask to carve this? I am also moved when I see it." For a moment, both of them were extremely surprised and asked Wang Xinyo. "Aunt Yuyan, Aunt Zhaolin, this is what Dad made for us." Before Wang Xinyo could speak, Yi Zi at the side spoke first. "Your dad?" Suddenly, Zhao Lin and Wang Xinyo stared at each other in astonishment, wondering if they had heard it wrong. This was actually carved by General Yi Xian and General Yi Long himself. "Ha, Xiao Zi didn't lie to you. This was carved by their father. How is it? Is it okay?" Wang Xinyo also smiled and nodded, then asked the two of them. It's so pretty. Xinyo, I envy you more and more." Zhang Yuyan and Zhao Lin nodded vigorously. This jade hairpin was really attractive. The two of them originally thought that Yi Xian would find someone to carve it, but they never expected that he would actually carve it himself, and in such a short time. As they were talking, everyone walked into the ancient-style exhibition, and suddenly they felt their vision became clear. The space inside is spacious, but there are still many people, some wearing hanfu, some holding cameras, slowly touring the exhibition. Here, there are not only rows of hanfu on display, but also some ancient musical instruments and ancient cultural walls. There are several small exhibition halls inside, and the scale is also huge. It has to be said that it is a grand event of ancient culture. After entering the venue, the little girls were very excited. Everything was attractive to them. "Dad, look ahead." Yi Jing, who was beside Yi Xian, suddenly noticed something, pulled Yi Xian's shirt hard, pointed to the front and said, "It's so beautiful up ahead, let's go over and take some pictures." Hearing the sound, everyone looked forward and their eyes lit up. In front is an ancient corridor with fragrant blooming flowers placed around it. Many people are taking photos in the corridor in front at this time, it is very lively. "Well, let's go over and take some pictures." Yi Xian smiled and nodded. The girls immediately became excited and pulled Yi Xian and ran forward. "You girls, slow down." Wang Xinyo behind him spread her hands helplessly, there was nothing she could do about these little girls. Zhao Lin and Zhang Yuyan on the side covered their mouths and smiled, and couldn't help sighing. "Xinyo, the father of these girls is truly the best dad I have ever seen." Zhang Yuyan smiled seriously and Zhao Lin nodded frantically. "Yeah, this is the first time I've seen a father who can pamper a girl to this extent." Zhao Lin was looking at the jade hairpins on the maids' heads, and even she felt a little envious. "Oh, I didn't expect that the girl's father could even carve." Wang Xinyo smiled, feeling somewhat helpless. "Oh, don't be so Versailles, I envy you so much." Zhang Yuyan curled her lips and sighed. "Okay, let's go take some pictures too." After Zhao Lin finished speaking, she quickly followed the other two. Surrounded by flowers on this corridor, a few little girls were running and laughing, attracting the attention of many people around them. "It's so cute. The hanfu these little girls are wearing really touches me. She's just like a little princess." Looking at these cute little guys, people were talking about them, with love in their eyes. "Girls, let's take a group photo." Yi Xian followed behind, found a suitable place for taking pictures, and waved to the girls. "Okay, Dad." When they heard Yi Xian calling them, the girls rushed back in a swarm. "Come on, let's take a photo here." Yi Xian led a few maids to a screen in the corridor. This ancient screen and the flowers rocking around it created a unique artistic conception. Several girls crowded around Yi Xian, and Wang Xinyo also walked over with a smile. Let me take the photo for you. Zhao Lin volunteered to take out the camera and patted his chest towards Yixian and others. Thank you, Aunt Zhao Lin. The little girls chuckled and held Yixian's hands even tighter. Come on, stand still, 1, 2, 3. Eggplant. After Zhao Lin counted a few times, Yixian and the others also got into position and grinned. Crack. After a shutter sound, a family portrait was frozen in the picture. Chapter 137 The Girl Who Was Chased Back. After taking the photos, everyone went to look at other parts of the exhibition hall. It was almost time, so they prepared to go home. Time to go home. When the girls heard that they were going home, they were reluctant to leave. Okay, when we get back, Dad will make you something delicious, okay? All right. Yixian smiled and promised the maids, and the maids nodded obediently. Afterwards, after Yixian's family broke up with Zhao Lin and Zhang Yuyan, Tang Hao drove them back to the villa. In the car, a few girls were still reminiscing about their experiences today, and they couldn't stop talking about it. It's such a fun day today. It's a day worth remembering. Hey, of course, today Mom and Dad and I are all wearing really pretty clothes. Many people also took photos with us. It was so much fun. The girls were chatting with each other, all reminiscing about today's ancient-style exhibition. Yixian and Wang Xinyao smiled at each other and gently rubbed the little girls' heads. If you like it, Dad will bring you here again when we have the chance. Let's change into nicer clothes, okay? Good. Yiyan nodded heavily, snuggled in Yixian's arms, and secretly kissed Yixian on the face. Seeing this, the other girls also came over, grinning foolishly, and snuggled into Yixian's arms. Wang Xinyao was watching from the side and couldn't help laughing and crying, but there was a warm smile on her face. Afterwards, amidst laughter and frolic, everyone drove towards the villa. On the other side, Zhao Lin also returned to the Zhao family villa not long after. He was also deeply moved by what he saw and heard today. What surprised her the most was the jade hairpin carved by Yixian, which really shocked her. She was deeply impressed. The jade hairpin with a pattern of birds paying homage to the phoenix on Wang Xinyao's head was so lifelike. As soon as she got home, Zhao Lin went to the study to find Zhao Dazheng and told him what happened today. Really? General Yi Long knows this? At this time, Zhao Dazheng, who was still copying the old general written by Yixian last time, was so scared when he heard this that he almost threw his pen aside. Grandpa, can I still lie to you? Zhao Lin took out his cell phone, enlarged the photo, and handed it to Zhao Dazheng. Zhao Dazheng quickly took it, put on his glasses, leaned close to the screen to observe the details of the carvings on it, and couldn't help but gasp. Oh my god, General Yi Long is simply a god. Is there anything he doesn't know? TSK, you are truly worthy of being the pillar of the nation. In the evening, inside the villa, several girls sat on the soft sofa, petting the cat and looking at the photos taken today. After the group photo, Yixian also took many photos of them individually. Each one looked perfect, with professional composition and color matching that was simply extraordinary. Hey, Daddy is so awesome. Yixia looked at her beautiful photo, smiled sweetly, and couldn't help but praise herself. This one of mine looks great too. Yi Jing also found out her own photos and was very satisfied. Then, the little guy took out the photos of Yi Xian and Wang Xinyao, pouting his lips and looking at them carefully. Dad and Mom are such a perfect match. Yi Shi pointed at the photo in which Yi Xian held Wang Xinyao's waist and couldn't help but sigh. Hee, of course, Mom and Dad are the best match. The other girls also nodded, feeling that they were the happiest people in the world. Then, the little guy looked at the photos, stroked the cat, and played for a long time. But time was getting later and later, and Yi Xian looked at the little ones who were still having fun, and walked over with a smile. Okay girls, what time is it now? Yi Xian sat among the girls and asked, pointing at the clock on the wall. Yeah. It's 11 o'clock. Yi Jing answered truthfully, not realizing what Yi Xian meant by asking this question. Shouldn't you guys go to bed then? Yi Xian smiled and pinched Yi Jing's little face. Hey, we're not sleepy yet. Yi Xia chuckled and stuck out her tongue at Yi Xian. Dad, I'll sleep if you catch me. Yi Zi and Yi Yun on the side had already run to the side, still talking in baby voices. Oh. These girls. Yi Xian smiled helplessly, and had to take them back to the bedroom one by one. Listen to my command. Count. 1, 2, 5. In the bedroom, Yi Xian smiled and gave orders to the maids on the bed.
The maids curled up in their quilts and obediently reported the numbers. So, I caught you. Yi Xian looked at the girls and couldn't help laughing out loud. Humph. Don't even think about running away, Dad. A few girls pouted and looked unconvinced, and together they pulled Yi Xian onto the big bed. Afterwards, all the little ones snuggled into Yi Xian's arms, and Yi Xi lay on Yi Xian's chest as usual. There's really nothing I can do about you. Yi Xian looked at the girls lovingly and shook his head helplessly. How about Daddy tell you a story and coax you to sleep, okay? Good. When they heard that they were going to tell a story, the little girls couldn't help but get excited, and their eyelids, which had been blinking, suddenly straightened. Well, today we are going to tell a story about a little princess. As Yi Xian murmured the story, the girls listened very seriously at first, but as they listened, they all fell into a deep sleep. After getting up the next day, Yi Xian began to pack his things and prepared to return to Jinling today. Seeing this, the little ones sensibly started to pack up their things. As for the jade hairpins that Yi Xian had carved for them before, they carefully preserved them and treated them as treasures. The little girl Yi Jing also packed up the small wooden tube that Yi Xian gave her and put it in her bag. Brother Yi, the charter plane is ready. While he was still cleaning up, Tang Hao walked in and walked up to Yi Xian to report. Yeah, I got it. Yi Xian nodded slightly and consciously sped up the progress. Afterwards, everyone packed up their things, had breakfast, and headed for the airport. After all, no one else knew the news this time, so no one came to deliver it. This made Yi Xian feel a rare moment of peace and quiet, and a few hours later, he returned to his home in Jinling. We're back. A few girls walked into the villa carrying luggage and called out in baby voices. Why hasn't the cat come yet? Yi Shi searched around the first floor of the villa, but couldn't find the cat, and became a little anxious for a moment. Silly girl, the black cat is still in check-in and it will take some time for it to arrive. Yi Xian smiled and rubbed the little girl Yi Shi's head to comfort her, and soon Yi Shi calmed down. Dad, I know. Sure enough, not long after, the black cat that the little ones had been thinking about was delivered to the door of the villa by a pet shipping service. Come on. After the little guys signed for the black cat, they jumped in with the black cat. Kitten. You can come out now. Meow. Yi Shi opened the black cat's pet cage. The black cat meowed softly, and then walked out of the cage with a graceful cat-like gait. Afterwards, the little ones started playing with the black cat while Wang Xinyao and Yi Xian were packing up. While packing up, Wang Xinyao suddenly remembered what happened to Chen Jing, and then looked at Yi Xian in front of her. By the way, husband, I contacted Chen Jing a few days ago and told her that we will be back in a few days. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian was stunned at first, then he looked at Wang Xinyao with a wicked smile. Xinyao, I feel like you're more anxious than I am. Are you going to send those little girls over right now? Oh, I didn't say that. Wang Xinyao's pretty face immediately blushed, she coughed twice softly, and continued. Hubby, let's not talk about this for now. Chen Jing told me at the time that we would contact her when we arrived. It seems that she wants to talk to you about something. Is that so? Yeah, I understand. Yi Xian smiled and nodded, but he didn't pay much attention to this matter. After all, it was just a matter of savings. However, this would allow Chen Jing to take care of these little girls, and he could also be alone with Wang Xinyao for a while. Now the two of them are being closely watched by these 5 little girls. Sometimes having too many girls around can be a hassle. After packing up, Wang Xinyao immediately called Chen Jing, but Chen Jing didn't answer. There must be something. Wang Xinyao murmured to herself. After all, she also knew Chen Jing's job. If she encountered entertaining clients or attending a meeting, it would not be convenient for her to answer the phone. At this time, Yi Xian went downstairs to teach a few little girls about calligraphy and chess. After all, during the holidays, you can teach these little ones something other than book knowledge, which is also very good. What's more, Yi Xian is also the best teacher in this regard. I'll go down and take a look too. Wang Xinyao didn't continue to call, but walked downstairs with a smile. After a while, Wang Xinyao's cell phone rang. She took it out and saw that it was Chen Jing calling. Xinyao, I was in a meeting just now and couldn't answer the phone. This is a top financial conference and many bigwigs are here. By the way, Xinyao, do you know who this is to welcome? Hearing Chen Jing's mysterious tone on the other end of the phone, Wang Xinyao laughed and said unhappily. Okay, don't keep us in suspense. Who is it? Okay, then you must know about the fuse incident a few days ago, right? Although Chen Jing no longer kept the secret, she did not say it directly. Instead, she mentioned the circuit breaker incident a few days ago. Well, I know this. I saw it on the news. Wang Xinyao nodded, but was a little confused for a moment. What does this have to do with the fuse? Ah, that's right. I heard that this time, the fuse is not ordinary. This time, the circuit breaker was operated by this person. I heard that he was hunted abroad, so he returned to the country to seek refuge. Well, although being hunted is a bit embarrassing, this man is also regarded as a big shot. Chapter 138. I'll call the master out. Wang Xinyao was silent for a moment, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. There are probably not many people in the world who can do this, and they can be called big shots. How about this, Xinyao? I have something else to do right now. I'll come find you in a while. After a few pleasantries, Chen Jing said with a smile. Okay, I'll hang up first then. Okay, bye. On Chen Jing's side, the general manager saw her making a phone call and asked curiously. Chen Jing, where are you going later? President, it's like this, I plan to go to Mr. Ye's house. After Chen Jing hung up the phone, she looked at the president and answered with a smile. What? Suddenly, several bank executives including the president were stunned at first, and then became excited. That's great, let's go visit too. The president nodded upon hearing this and looked towards Chen Jing. I think it's okay. You guys should prepare the gifts. We can't be careless about this. Okay, President, I got it. Chen Jing nodded, and several other bank executives had already started discussing what good things to take with them. When they were leaving, everyone looked at the crowd on the other side as they walked. Those standing there are all top bosses in the financial world. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but sigh. With their status, they were afraid they wouldn't be able to get through this place. At this moment, a young girl was standing in the crowd, surrounded by countless financial tycoons. The girl looks to be in her early 20s at most, but she possesses a competence and maturity that does not match her actual age. She was wearing a professional white suit with a black shirt underneath. She had a slender and upright figure. She was standing there calmly, talking to the people around her. But at this moment, the girl raised the Patek Philippe on her wrist, glanced at the time, and immediately looked at everyone and spoke seriously. Sorry everyone, I still have to go visit my master, I'll take my leave now. After saying this, the girl walked directly behind him without stopping, her steps firm and steady. Everyone looked at each other in surprise. Everyone was stunned and took a deep breath in disbelief. This one's master. If they had not heard it with their own ears just now, I am afraid no one present would believe that this person actually had a master. What kind of person was this young girl just now? He is the ceiling and order of the entire financial world. He is a genuine top-tier figure. This is not limited to China, even if you look at the whole world, it is one of the eternal rules. However, such a great person actually has a master. If it was true, wouldn't her master be defying the will of heaven? Doesn't that mean that with just a few gestures, the entire world's financial landscape can be changed? At this moment, when everyone thought of this, their scalps went numb for an instant, and their entire brains were still buzzing with echoes. But even after hearing such earth-shattering news, no one dared to say much and could only watch the young girl leave, even though in the eyes of outsiders they were all top bosses in the financial world. But only they themselves know that in front of the person who is leaving now, they are nothing at all. Here, at the gate of Villa Number 1 of Yulanshan Pavilion, Chen Jing, the general manager and others have arrived here. When they learned that Yi Xian actually lived in Villa Number 1 of Yulanshan Pavilion, both the president and other bank executives were filled with turmoil. Looking at the whole Jinling, the Yulanshan Pavilion Villa area is the most luxurious and the place where the most dignitaries gather. However, the person they were going to visit today actually lived in Villa Number. What a concept! This not only represents that this person's wealth has reached such a terrifying level, but also that this person's status and position is at a level that they can hardly imagine. Thinking of this, even the general manager swallowed his saliva, but now he was standing at someone else's door, it was too late to be nervous, he could only force himself to calm down. Chen Jing, who was in the lead, rang the doorbell, and soon, several little girls came over and opened the door. Aunt Chen Jing! You're here! When the girls saw that it was Chen Jing, they smiled sweetly and greeted her. Yeah. Auntie is here. Chen Jing also smiled, squatted down and hugged a few little girls. After some intimacy, Chen Jing stood up, looked at Yi Xian who was walking over, and greeted him enthusiastically. Mr. Yi. Yi Xian looked at Chen Jing and nodded with a smile.
Miss Chen, long time no see. This is Mr. Yi. The head president and others were surprised to see how young he was, but then they smiled and greeted him respectfully. Mr. Yi, we have long heard of your great name, so we specially came to visit you today. Please forgive us for not coming in person. We are really sorry to bother you. As the president spoke, he took out a set of pure gold commemorative coins that he had carefully prepared for Yi Xian. Mr. Yi, this is a small token of our appreciation. Please accept it. Well, come in. Yi Xian took the gift and spoke calmly to the president and others. Thank you, Mr. Yi. The president and others thanked Yi Xian again before walking in. The little ones hadn't seen Chen Jing for a while, and they were very excited. They pulled Chen Jing to sit on the sofa. Yi Xian took a look at the set of commemorative coins in his hand and said nothing. He just walked towards the little guys. Girls, this is for you to play with. Yi Xian handed the commemorative coins directly to the little girls without any hesitation. Thank you, Dad. Looking at these round, sparkling commemorative coins, the little girls loved them very much. They took them out of the box directly and played with them in their hands. The bank president and others standing by were stunned when they saw the scene, with the corners of their mouths twitching slightly. No one had ever seen such a scene. After all, this is pure gold, and it is limited in quantity by their bank and only used as gifts for distinguished customers. But Yi Xian actually gave such a thing to his daughters as a toy. Even if you want to do this, you should wait until they leave before giving it to them. Why did you throw it to a few little girls in front of them? What kind of thing is this? At this moment, the president and others were regretting, did they choose the wrong gift this time? Everyone, please take a seat. Yi Xian turned around at this time and saw the president and several senior executives still standing there blankly. Then he slapped his head and invited them to sit down. Thank you, Mr. Yi. After the general manager and others sat down, they looked at the magnificence of the villa. Even the knowledgeable general manager felt a little ashamed. Yi Xian stood up and walked aside to make tea, but a few little girls saw him and hurried over. The leader, Yi Jing, pouted her lips, smiled and pulled the corner of Yi Xian's clothes and said, Dad, let's make some tea, and you can just go chat with the uncles. Well, that's fine. Thank you for your hard work. Yi Xian looked at the little guy who wanted to come over to help, and didn't say much, just nodded slightly. Then, the little guys divided the work and cooperated with each other. Yi Shi used a teaspoon to put tea into the teapot, while Yi Jing picked up the kettle to brew it. Afterwards, several little girls each brought a cup of brewed hot tea and carefully placed it next to the president and several bank executives, and spoke in a baby voice. Uncles, please have some tea. Well, that's good. The bank president smiled kindly and quickly thanked the little girls. On the other side, Wang Xinyao and Chen Jing were sitting not far away, also discussing what had just happened. Chen Jing was still a little excited at this time. She talked to Wang Xinyao about the young girl's incident with emotion, gesticulating and speaking. Alas! Xinyao, it's such a pity that you didn't get to see it. It was too shocking this time. This is my first time participating in a big event like that. Wang Xinyao was also a little shocked when she heard her description. If what Chen Jing said is true, it is really not easy for this girl to have such achievements at such a young age. Chen Jing, you must have made a mistake, right? Is the other person really that young? Thinking of this, Wang Xinyao was still a little confused and asked again. Oh, how could I lie to you? This is the boss I just talked to you about on the phone. At this point, Wang Xinyao had to believe it even if she didn't want to. Her mind was full of imaginations, and she imagined a young, capable, and all-powerful woman. She was even more shocked in her heart. Back here, the general manager looked at Yi Xian and expressed his gratitude profusely. Mr. Yi, I really don't know how to thank you. Without your generous help and your deposit, our bank would not be what it is today. If you still have spare money that needs to be managed, please give us priority. We will give you the highest interest rate and provide the most considerate and comprehensive services. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian picked up the teacup, took a sip, and then said with a smile. It's okay. If there's anything, Chen Jing and I can just contact each other. Okay, Mr. Yi can arrange it however you want. The head president and others also understood and couldn't help but look in Chen Jing's direction. It seems that this person is really a treasure. Thinking of this, the general manager has made up his mind that no matter what, he must keep Chen Jing. If their rivals poached her, they would not only lose a young and capable industry elite like Chen Jing,
but also a large sum of Yi Xian's savings. If it really comes to this, although they will not be put to death, they will suffer unimaginable damage. While Yi Xian and the others were talking, a few little girls were not idle either, they were busy working nearby. Seeing the general manager and others, or when Yi Xian's teacup was empty, several little girls took turns carrying teapots and came over to pour tea for everyone. But you know what, these little girls have learned a lot in recent times. I taught them last time that a full cup of tea is a sign of deception, a full cup of wine is a sign of respect, and these little guys have remembered it very well. Every time they pour tea, they will be careful not to exceed half a cup. The head president and others also sighed in their hearts, saying that she is worthy of being Mr. Ye's daughter. She knows a lot at such a young age. While the little girls were busy, they were also listening to the conversation between the general manager and others and Yi Xian. Mr. Yi, I wonder if you are satisfied with the annual interest rate we give you now. If you are not satisfied, we can adjust it. Don't worry, we will do our best to meet your requirements. If you have any comments, you can always give us your feedback. The president of the bank smiled and talked about the current annual interest rate of Yi Xian's deposit. But the little girls were confused and looked at the president curiously. Uncle, what is the annual interest rate you are talking about? This. The general manager looked at the curious eyes of the little girls, was stunned at first, then explained to the girls with a smile. Well, my uncle told me that the annual interest rate is that your father deposits money in the bank, and the bank will return a portion of the money to your father. This annual interest rate determines how much of your father's money the bank can return. Do you understand? The head president tried to make it as clear as possible and explained it carefully to the girls. Uncle, we understand. The girls smiled and nodded, probably understanding what it meant. After a while, a luxury car drove up to the door of Villa number 1 of Yulongshan Pavilion. A luxury car stopped at the door and a girl got out of the car. She was none other than the young girl who had just been watched leaving by a group of financial tycoons. The girl's name was Long Fei. She was holding a prepared gift in her hand and looking at the villa in front of her. She was calm even in the face of a big accident, but her heart was trembling. This villa may look magnificent in the eyes of others, but in her eyes, it looks like a cold palace. She still remembered that the last time she came to see the master, the retired master looked like a lonely old man. In her own words, it seemed as if the master was covered with spider webs, which made her want to call the master out quickly. Chapter 139 Master, you have a child? This time she came, besides visiting her master, there was something more important. Her ultimate goal is to invite her master to go with her to the 3 southern areas south of southern Xinjiang. This way, we can also bring the master out, which is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Alas, it's time to go in and face this lonely old man. Long Fei sighed slightly, then walked forward firmly, walked to the door, and knocked gently. There are guests. A few little girls heard the knock on the door, and Yi Xi rushed to the door first and opened it. As soon as he opened the door, Long Fei was about to say the word master, but when he saw that it was the petite and cute Yi Xi, he swallowed the words back. What's going on? Long Fei looked at the little girl and was stunned for a moment. At this time, several other little girls also came to the door and looked at Long Fei at the door with the same confusion. Long Fei was even more stunned. It would be fine if there was just one little girl, but why were there so many little girls? Sister, who are you? The little girls looked at each other and asked politely. Long Fei did not answer the question, but seemed to suddenly realize something. He opened his eyes wide and looked at the little girls, and said with a smile. Let me guess. You are the summer volunteers of the elementary school, right? Are you here to visit the lonely old man? Yi Xian, who was still sitting inside, couldn't help but twitch his lips when he heard Long Fei's insensitive words. Could it be that in her impression, he was just a lonely old man? Thinking of this, Yi Xian suddenly recalled the past. Thinking about the previous situation, it seemed that it did have that flavor. No, sister. This is our home. By the way, sister, are you here to look for our father? Dad? Listening to the innocent words of these little girls, Long Fei staggered suddenly and looked at the girls in shock. Then, Long Fei could no longer care about anything else and rushed in, walked to Yi Xian's side, and stared at Yi Xian with wide eyes. Master! You have a daughter. Long Fei suddenly ran over, causing the president, Chen Jing, and others to look over. They were stunned at first, and then they all gasped. Isn't this the person from before? Ms. Long. You're here. The head president and a group of senior executives stood up hurriedly and greeted Long Fei respectfully. But at this time, everyone looked again, and then all looked towards Yi Xian. Master. If they heard correctly just now, Miss Long actually called Mr. Yi master. For a moment, the general manager and those senior executives were all dumbfounded, looking at each other, unable to say anything. These are my daughters. All 5 of them. Yi Xian looked at Long Fei, nodded helplessly, then smiled and looked at Wang Xinyao beside him. Also, this is your master's wife. At this time, Long Fei stared at Yi Xian with wide eyes, still shocked, and couldn't react to what was going on. Wasn't master a lonely old man before? How come so many relatives suddenly appeared? Thinking of this, Long Fei couldn't help but look at Yi Xian with a puzzled look, and curled his lips, wanting to say something. Don't worry about it, it's not fake anyway. Yi Xian didn't give her the chance to ask a million questions, and just glanced at her. The little girls now knew that this sister knew their father, so they pulled Long Fei over to sit down. Yes. My dear junior sisters, this is a gift from my senior sister. Long Fei looked at these cute little guys and immediately handed over the things in his hand. There is something delicious in here. When they heard that it was delicious, the little girls' eyes lit up, but they still looked at Yi Xian first and asked in a baby voice. Dad, can I eat this? Okay. Yi Xian looked at the girls, smiled and nodded. At this time, Long Fei and a few girls were sitting aside. The president of the head office and senior executives came over one after another, and greeted Long Fei one after another. Ms. Long, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you here. Ms. Long, I always work hard with you as my goal. Oh. I never thought that Miss Long is Mr. Ye's apprentice. It's true that a good teacher produces good students. Long Fei looked at the president and senior executives of the head office and said calmly. It's quite a coincidence indeed. We just met each other, didn't we? As she spoke, Long Fei's eyes were always looking at Yi Xian's villa, and suddenly she felt as if it was a lot more lively. Is this the charm of those little guys? Long Fei pursed her lips and smiled, and couldn't help but mutter something in her heart. Then, Long Fei looked at Wang Xinyao who was leaving and smiled politely. Hey, hello, master's wife? Wang Xinyao smiled and nodded. She looked at Long Fei and had a favorable impression of him, so she pulled Long Fei to sit aside. Chen Jing was standing next to Wang Xinyao at this time. The excitement in her heart was finally suppressed a little, and she said to Wang Xinyao. Xinyao, this is the person I told you about before, but I didn't expect that he is Mr. Ye's apprentice. Long Fei was also very close to Wang Xinyao at this time. He held Wang Xinyao's hand and said with a smile. Master's wife, Master also taught me finance, but Master was not interested in that. He just abandoned me after teaching me. Thank goodness my disciple is not an ungrateful person. He used to come and see him often. Yi Xian, who was standing aside, heard this, and the corners of his mouth twitched, but he remained silent for a while. He thought to himself, this girl really dares to say anything. By the way, Master's wife, how did you and Master? Long Fei immediately looked at Wang Xinyao with a gossipy expression and asked in a low voice. Ahem. But before he could finish his words, Yi Xian coughed softly. Long Fei smiled awkwardly and quickly swallowed back the words that were about to come out of her mouth. Ah, no, Master's wife, what I mean is, are you and my master tired of taking care of these little girls? Wang Xinyao shook her head and said with a smile. Your master is very considerate to these little girls, and they are very obedient, so we don't feel tired at all. Hearing these words, the general manager and others sitting nearby were silent as a cicada. No one dared to speak for fear of disturbing others. You have to know that no one can afford to offend them here. Originally, they had some status outside, but when they arrived at Yi Xian's villa, they realized that they were nothing at all. At this time, the president felt more and more uncomfortable the longer he sat. The feeling of sitting on pins and needles was so uncomfortable that it was beyond words. Mr. Yi, we'll leave first. If you need anything or have any questions, you can contact Miss Chen Jing or contact us directly. Later on, the president couldn't sit still any longer, and he knew that there was no point in keeping them here, so he gritted his teeth and stood up to say goodbye. Okay, I'll take you out then. Yi Xian nodded and was about to stand up and see the president and others out. Mr. Yi, please take a seat. You don't need this. The president of the bank immediately broke out in a cold sweat and quickly refused. Okay, then I'll leave you alone. Seeing this, Yi Xian didn't say anything and sat down again.
Goodbye, Mr. Yi, we are leaving. After saying goodbye, the president left with a group of senior executives. After walking out of the villa, he took a deep breath of the outside air and finally felt a lot more comfortable. At this time, there was no outsider in the room, so Yi Xian looked at Long Fei and asked lightly. After all, what exactly did you want to do by coming to see me this time? Long Fei chuckled and said weakly. Master, I was thinking that since you are all alone, I would take you out for a walk. I came here to invite you to go with me to the southern three lands in the south of southern Xinjiang. As he was speaking, Long Fei suddenly had an idea, and he clapped his hands lightly and continued. By the way, it happens that the master's wife and fellow apprentices are here with you this time? How about we go together? Looking at Long Fei's excited expression, Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. I don't have any problem, but I still need to ask other people's opinions. As he spoke, Yi Xian looked at Wang Xinyao beside him and spoke gently. Xinyao, do you have time to go out? Wang Xinyao nodded slightly and spoke in a relaxed tone. Don't worry, hubby. My previous research has been completed. There's nothing to worry about for now. Good. Yi Xian nodded and pulled a few girls over. It happens to be the summer vacation for the girls. If they want to go, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take them with you. Girls, your senior sister wants to go with our family to the southern three places in the south of southern Xinjiang. Do you want to go out and take a look? Think. When the girls heard that they could go out and play, they nodded without hesitation. After asking around, no one had any questions, and Yi Xian looked at Long Fei with a smile. Well, that's all good then. I'll go with you this time. Chapter 140. Stay away from me, you stink of money. At this moment, the door of the villa was knocked again, and several little girls pouted and talked to themselves in confusion. What's going on? We have so many guests today. He, this is great, these are all people Dad knows. Hurry, let's go open the door. Don't keep the guests waiting. As they were talking, the little girls held hands and skipped towards the door. Then, the little guy opened the door and saw that the person who came was none other than Sun Ji. Hello, little junior sister. Sun Ji greeted the maids with a smile, then walked into the house and came to Yi Xian and said, Master, you are wrong. You have already left Linhai City, and you didn't even let me see you off. It's okay, no need to bother. Yi Xian waved his hand and continued jokingly. What happened to you guys today? Did you agree to come together? What appointment? I'm the only one here. Sun Ji was a little confused. He looked around and saw Long Fei sitting next to him. He was stunned immediately. Brother, you are so stupid. It's been a while since you saw me. Seeing that Sun Ji noticed her, Long Fei pouted in disdain. Junior sister. Why are you here? Then, Long Fei curled his lips, yawned sleepily, and then spoke slowly. Brother, what you are saying is true. I am a frequent visitor here. When Master was still here alone, I often came here to see him, who was almost covered in spider webs. Several little guys gathered around Yi Xian. When they heard Long Fei say this, they opened their watery eyes curiously and looked at Yi Xian. Dad, were you Spider-Man before? Yi Shi sat on Yi Xian's lap, curled up in Yi Xian's arms, and said aggrievedly. Dad, so you are Spider-Man, but you have never shown us how to spit spider silk. Looking at the curious expressions of the little guys, Yi Xian shook his head helplessly, rubbed Yi Shi's little head, and said with a doting smile. Don't listen to her nonsense. How could Dad be Spider-Man? Chen Jing, who was next to Wang Xinyao, was also happy when she heard this and nodded. Yes, how could Yi Xian be Spider-Man? As the saying goes, the rich rely on technology, the poor rely on mutations, so Yi Xian is almost like Iron Man. Long Fei looked at Yi Xian smile at this moment, as well as the few little girls who were surrounding Yi Xian. The heartwarming scene between the father and daughter stunned her immediately. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she really wouldn't have believed it was true. Her master really had become different. The current master and the cold and lonely master back then are completely different people. Being around those girls, Yi Xian suddenly seemed too worldly wise, his smile was so gentle, he had completely entered into the role of a father. At this moment, Long Fei's mind was full of thoughts. After he came to his senses, he looked towards Sun Ji. By the way, senior brother, what are you doing here this time? Sun Ji was just looking at his master and several junior sisters with satisfaction. When he heard Long Fei's question, he remembered the reason for his visit. Hey, I almost forgot I came here for something. As he spoke, Sun Ji took out the medicine and receipts from his bag and told Yi Xian the purpose of his visit. Master, it's like this. The mass production of the medicine has been successful, and there are also some improvements, so I brought a sample here for you to see. And this is a large-scale production order. Master, please take a look. How do you want to divide this batch of medicine? Upon hearing this, Yi Xian took the receipt, looked at it, took out a tube of medicine, tasted the improved sample, and then nodded with satisfaction. Well, that's a good improvement. Long Fei, who was standing next to him, watched the scene, staring at the potion Yi Xian was drinking, pouting her lips, looking pitiful. Look how greedy you are. Look, even my daughter is not as greedy as you. Yi Xian looked at Long Fei's expression and said with a displeased smile. Yes, Sister Long Fei, we are not greedy. When the little girls heard Yi Xian say this, they looked at Long Fei proudly. Forehead. Long Fei was a little embarrassed. Yi Xian found it funny and spread his hands helplessly. Okay, I think this thing tastes pretty good, you can drink it as a beverage later. Hey! Okay. A few little girls were the first to get excited. Originally, when they heard it was medicine, they were not greedy at all. But now when I heard it was a drink, I suddenly wanted to try what it tasted like. Master, you are really my good master. I won't be polite then. Long Fei also suddenly became excited